There's one slide.
Okay. All right, we're all set.
You want to click on the display button to...
Okay, can you see
There
that?
we go.
Okay.
Yes.
Should I start or do you want to say something?
No, I want Susan to introduce you once I start the recording. Are we ready to go?
Yes, I am.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, I can't hear Susan talking.
I can't hear either.
Oh,
Okay.
her mic is muted.
Well, I
There we go.
unmuted it. Okay.
Oh,
Welcome to
dog problem.
Welcome to Silicon Valley Health Institute. We're a nonprofit organization where we have experts from around the world share their information on health and how we can be healthy, improve our health, and be proactive in doing so. We're a nonprofit organization, and currently we're having weekly health Zoom meeting. And you could find all of our recordings on our website, Silicon Valley Health Institute, www.svhi. Today, we're honored to have Richard Cheng with us to talk about all the things we are doing correctly and not so correctly in today's current challenges and diseases. He has been a central figure in the International Society of Orthomolecular Medicine and is a traveling liaison to the vitamin C using medical groups in China. He's the founder and director of Dr. Cheng Integrative Health Center and Dr. Cheng's Anti-Aging and Weight Loss Center of Columbia, South Carolina, since its inception in 2003. He and his colleagues have taken an integrative approach to help patients with chronic diseases, especially diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. He also serves as a consultant to Shenzhen Bao'an Central Hospital and Shenzhen Medical Association in Shenzhen, Guangdong, China. He's also a consultant to the Shuhai International Hospital in Shuhai, Jiangsu, China. Forgive my mispronunciations. He serves as the editor on the editorial board of the Journal of Nutritional Oncology in China and the Orthomolecular Science News Service. In recent years, he grew particularly interested in functional medicine or anti-aging medicine. The current healthcare focuses on symptomatic treatments for many diseases, ignoring the root causes. For example, when we control blood sugar of a diabetic patient or the blood pressure, are we only treating the symptoms or are we looking at the underlying cause? So it's important to look at the underlying cause rather than just to give something to relieve the symptoms. He's a fellow and board certified anti-aging physician by the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, also a fellow and board certified for the A4M Integrative Cancer Therapy. Welcome, Dr. Cheng.
Thank you for inviting me into this wonderful opportunity to talk to this.
Dr. Cheng, your audio is not picking up well. Can you lean forward closer to your microphone?
All right. Can you hear me better?
There we go.
Okay, yeah. My daughter says I have some cheap earbuds. You know, I couldn't make my wireless ones to Bluetooth ones to work. Okay, you can hear me better, right?
Yes.
You can see me okay too? All right, okay. Well, I'd like to discuss, share with you all my experience of the busy year of the past. And here is my first page. And particularly I'm proud, I want to say that I am also a former Army active duty soldier, and I served at the MCI NIH as well. And here's a picture of me when I was in uniform many years ago in the Army. Now, this is a pretty comprehensive slide. It talks a lot of the, a lot of points. And let me just highlight a few points that I want to address today. Now, first of all, most of the talk will be focused on COVID-19 because we're still, unfortunately, in the middle of it. And so I want to say that COVID-19 is a rapidly spreading disease that we all know that can infect a lot of people at a very short period of time. And that's actually the bad and scary part of COVID-19. So by no means through our talk that we shouldn't take COVID-19 seriously. It is a serious disease. We all need to take it seriously. However, with that said, I want to show you some data that COVID-19 per se, the disease itself, is not much worse than a bad flu. Okay, and I'm going to show you as measured by infection fatality rate. And therefore, what I'm saying is that worldwide panic, we've been in a panic mode for nearly a year. It is unnecessary. And in my view, personal view, our mismanagement and the panic may have caused more damage than COVID-19 per se, in terms of lives and in terms of social turmoil and economic losses. Okay. Now, I think a big part of the problem is the failure to recognize the underlying mechanism or mechanisms universal to many, if not all, viral infections. Okay, and that are largely responsible for COVID-19 mismanagement. Now, I think this is key, and this is concerning the integrative medicine approach, how we view diseases, how we view symptoms, and that's what makes the huge difference. I'm going to spend quite some time today to discuss this concept. Now, I think the failure, that the one I just mentioned, the failure to recognize the underlying mechanism highlights the key difference between the so-called complementary alternative medicine. And I think that the best term of all these is integrative medicine and the traditional Western medicine. And that's the key difference. And I think if we can understand this point, then we not only should be able, that should not only be able to get us out of COVID-19, and also that will help us to prevent future epidemics and pandemics. And I'm going to show you, unfortunately, the epidemics and the pandemics are on the rise, and although we haven't really, we're still in the middle of the current one. Not only that, but also, if we understand this, that will help us to understand many other chronic diseases. So hopefully, out of the bad, tragic COVID-19, we can learn a few things from this, and that can benefit all humanity in the future. And also, I'm going to show you that a few safe and effective keywords: safe, effective, inexpensive, and readily available remedies that have been in existence for a long time that we can use for COVID-19 prevention and intervention. Okay, so if we use these measures properly and in a timely manner, unfortunately, we're already sort of 1 year late, and we could and should have been implemented on day one of COVID-19. Okay, that can cut COVID-19 pandemic short. Agents that boost your immune system, that can neutralize the viral toxicities, and that can kill viruses include, but not limited to, vitamin C, vitamin D3, zinc, quercetin, melatonin, magnesium chloride, NAC, hydrogen peroxide, and many others, antioxidants. And we're not going to be able to discuss all of them. Okay, and these have been known, and these have been around for a long time. And so finally, I want to spend some time to discuss the key message I want to deliver here is that the three views of disease and health that I think that separate integrative orthomolecular medicine from the current today's medicine. And these are, in my view, integrative or holistic view. We have to view diseases in a holistic way, not just looking at the symptoms. Natural view, and I'm going to extend a little bit more later, and balanced view, and which is clearly that when we treat a disease or deal with health, we just shouldn't focus on one part. We need to treat the whole, treat the patient. And we're going to talk a little bit more later. So these are the topics I want to touch upon. And these, obviously, this is very, very broad. Even though today we have probably around 2 hours to discuss, that won't be enough. Now, first of all, first part, the big part is let's talk a little bit about COVID-19 and what are the problems I think COVID-19 reveals in today's so-called evidence-based medicine. Now, we know evidence-based medicine, or EBM, is the central dogma in today's Western medicine. And so we will talk about it. But first of all, let's look at COVID-19. This is a updated version, and I just checked on the website of CDC website. So it's official. And as you can see here at the top, this is the data from CDC ending from February 1 to 12/12, a couple of 3 days ago, and updated last night. What I want you to focus here, as in the red circle here, is that deaths involving COVID-19 and pneumonia, excluding influenza. This is critical. So basically, we know this is the flu season. I mean, every year, flu kills a lot of people. And in the United States, every year it kills probably 60 to 80,000 people. And so we kind of, don't really pay much attention to it. Seems like that's a normal part of our life. And so we don't want to complicate things. So this actually column excludes influenza, but include the COVID-19. Of course, COVID-19, the major killer of COVID-19 is pneumonia. Therefore, so COVID-19 and pneumonia, and so if you exclude the influenza, the number of deaths is 123, a little over, 123,000. Okay, it's not as widely publicized on the media, over 200 or even 300,000. Okay. This is still a lot of people, unfortunately, but not as large as great as what some media have been reporting. And of course, another thing I want to pay attention is that this column, it does not give you a breakdown of the underlying diseases, for example, cancer, diabetes, obesity. So because we know those people with those underlying diseases are more likely to be killed by COVID-19 than people who are apparently healthy. Okay. So yes, it is a bad disease. It has contributed a lot of deaths, but not as big as what the media has been saying. Now that's the mortality there. And here is another table. Basically, I mentioned earlier, how bad is a disease? Usually one of the key measures we use is so-called infection fatality rate, or basically the chances of dying from an infectious disease. Okay, so let's compare the IFR of COVID-19 to that of influenza. The data is from CDC and WHO, official data. And I published this paper at the link right here, and the references is in this paper there. So we know COVID-19 is a bad disease. We have age-specific breakdown data. So on the left column here, you see the data from newborn to 19 years old. For simplicity, the first 20 years, and 20 to 50 years, and 50 to 70, and above 70. Okay. So if you look at the IFR of COVID-19, you see these numbers. And the young people, 0 to 20, is 0.003%. It's very small. And 20 to 50 is 0.2%. 50 to 70, 0.5%. Above 70 is about 5.4%. Now, unfortunately, for influenza, we don't have age-specific breakdown data. Why? Is because influenza, like I said, is part of the normal life, and it's not a reportable disease. COVID-19 is reported, all we know, basically by the death certificate, on the death certificate. And so influenza doesn't have an age specific breakdown. What we do know is the IFR of influenza is less than 0.1%. So basically, chances of dying of influenza for the whole population is less than 1 in 1,000. Okay. Now, so if you compare these data, now obviously, for people younger than 50 years of age, this is in the same category as influenza. Okay, so for young people, newborn to 50, the death rate, the infection fatality rate of COVID-19 is no more than influenza. And since we don't have the age specific breakdown from above 50, then we are not sure. And the IFR begin to go up. As we already said, older people do seem to have higher mortality rate because they often tend to have more immune compromised conditions. So anyway, in the summary from these two slides, we know that COVID-19 is a bad disease, but the infection fatality rate for the most people, young people, probably is not much worse than influenza. We also know from other data, which I didn't list here, is that 80% of the COVID-19 patients have mild symptoms, and 20% of COVID-19 infected people don't have basically they're carriers and they don't show symptoms. As influenza, even when it's called a virus, not everybody shows symptoms. So that's what I want to deliver the message to the people is that yes, it is a bad disease. I'm again stressing the importance. It's a serious disease, but there is no need to panic. Okay? Don't panic, and we can deal with it. We have ways to deal with it, and I'm going to show you this. Now let's switch gear a little bit. I want to show you the difference or the similarity or the common mechanisms underlying COVID-19 and other viral infections. Okay, here is an excellent review paper published 2 years ago in 2018, and in this journal, Viral Infections. Basically, this review article, I'm only picking under the viral infection, on the new respiratory, okay, since COVID-19 mostly affects the pulmonary system. The central idea or the points from this paper is that all respiratory viruses, including influenza, human respiratory syncytial virus, and other viruses that cause pneumonia, including SARS-CoV-2 and also other coronaviruses, all these viruses that can cause pneumonia, they do so by, a common mechanism is increased oxidative stress. So let me introduce this concept, oxidative stress. Now, in plain English, we all know free radicals. Or in another term, inflammation. Okay, we know inflammation. Inflammation basically is, inflammation is a little bit different from infection. Infection, you always involve a pathogen, a virus, a bacteria. Inflammation is just the cells, they inflame, the molecules, they inflame. So increased oxidative stress. We know earlier this year, back in probably March or so, a lot of papers come out on COVID-19 talking of a cytokine storm. You still remember that? Now, you don't see that term that much anymore. Cytokine storm, basically that's another way of expressing increased oxidative stress or increased a lot of free radicals, okay? So again, this is the important concept, so I'm repeating. Oxidative stress is a measure of oxidants, the free radicals, divided by the antioxidants. It's the balance. Oxidative stress is important. It's a critical biochemical mechanism in our body. We need it, but too much of it can do a lot of damage. So basically, it can oxidize our molecules and disable our molecules and disrupt our biochemical, physiological function, causing us sick. Okay, so the key point of this paper is that the common pathology underlying these viral infections is oxidative stress, extremely high. Okay. Now, look at some other papers here. Again, you will see this over and over, oxidative stress. Is that increased oxidative stress or cytokine storm underlying acute lung injury and acute respiratory distress syndrome. These are the conditions that actually kill people. Okay. So here are the references. So these are, again, you can see this mechanism, oxidative stress, over and over again. Let me also add here, not only this happens in viral infection. Actually, it happens to all other chronic diseases. And I wasn't particularly interested in infection disease. You know, as I'm getting older, I'm interested in anti-aging. You know, I'm an anti-aging physician right now. I want to see how I can stay healthy and how I can live longer. And I'm going to show you later. Ultimately, I still want to see how I can live to 120 years old. Now, every chronic diseases that I have done research on, you know, primarily to see what other people have done. Every chronic disease, if the research is available, is associated with increased oxidative stress. That's a very important point. Okay. And let me just also throw in here that every disease, chronic disease, and acute as well, mostly chronic disease, also has mitochondrial dysfunction. I will touch upon a little bit later as well. So these have been actually ignored. Okay. Why is that? Is because if we understand this, there are existing methods, remedies, measures we can take. So we don't have to wait for new drugs or new vaccines, okay, because they take time and it's expensive. Now, again here, key pathology of COVID-19. We're talking about acute lung injury, ARDS, septic shock. So these are some of the pathologies that will happen to COVID-19 and causing death. And now, vitamin C. We're talking about vitamin C a lot. We heard a lot. Vitamin C is, we'll show you here, vitamin C is a critical, because vitamin C is a prototypical antioxidant. Okay, it is there to neutralize the free radicals that are released by these viruses and other agents. And here is a study a couple of months ago, a Spanish study of 18 severe COVID-19 patients. These patients, you know, with ARDS, so that mortality rate is high, about 40% in these patients. So the 17 out of 18 COVID-19 patients, severe COVID-19 patients, have undetectable vitamin C levels. What is that? It's acute scurvy. Do we still remember that term, scurvy? You know, I never thought I would, you know, scurvy is only something in the textbook. But you know what? It's actually in our everyday life. You should read and listen to Dr. Tom Levy's book. And, you know, he calls these focus scurvy. Actually, scurvy in a minor level, you know, kind of insidious level, it's everywhere, okay? So don't think scurvy doesn't exist. So here, scurvy, acute scurvy, and undetectable vitamin C is present in the vast majority of COVID-19 patients. And I want to add, the last one of these 18 patients have very low vitamin C level. Okay, it's not normal. So it's all low. 17 of them have undetectable ones. Okay, so you know, in biology we know a structure determines functions, or you know, there's a major reason why vitamin C is severely deficient in these patients. But not only COVID-19. Here we show you here. Vitamin C deficiency is a key finding of many of ICU patients. Okay, here are some studies. 40% of ICU patients with septic shock have acute scurvy again. Basically, it's about half, okay. Scurvy, basically, okay. And the remainder of ICU septic patients have basically, again, vitamin C deficiency, all right? Now, if it's not important, why is it deficient or absent? We have to ask these questions, okay? Now, for those ICU patients without sepsis, without fever, okay, half of them have low vitamin C deficiency. So it's a very universal common issue. People have been ignoring. You know, a lot of people, I'm going to talk about it, asking me vitamin C. Do we have research? Why is it important? Because they don't want to see these data. These have been around for decades. Okay. Now here again, low plasma vitamin C levels are associated with more severe organ failure and increased mortality. Lots of research out there if you really want to study or pay attention. Okay. Now, Lots of studies here. You could, animal studies, we evidence-based medicine. We like to see randomized RCTs, randomized control trials. Yes, these are some of the random trials showing that that vitamin C can alleviate or prevent bacterial, viral, protozoan infections, and vitamin C cuts the risks of colds among the people. Vitamin C shows dose dependent response in common colds, and vitamin C can prevent pneumonia. Vitamin C can improve pneumonia treatment outcome. Vitamin C even beneficial in the treatment of tetanus. Okay, and I don't think I included that paper. You should, or if you haven't, but you should read Dr. Levy's Primal Panacea, and which we also translated into Chinese. It lists of the practically, if not all, most or many of those viral bacterial infections with vitamin C. A lot of research, basic and clinical, have been done and showing vitamin C is effective in this. Why? Why is that? You have to understand. Okay. Why? Because the vitamin C is targeting the common pathology underlying these diseases. Number one, and one of them is oxidative stress, which I mentioned about, and also vitamin C has antibacterial, antiviral mechanism. Here I show you high dose vitamin C has been shown to be able to treat pneumonia, sepsis, ARDS successfully. It also shortens the patient's requirement on mechanical ventilation. Okay, so high dose vitamin C prevents multi-organ failure. High dose vitamin C reduces ARDS mortality. And one of the largest trials published, I think it was last year, citrus ALI. And again, if you actually the dose here is not really that high. Okay, it's only for they use about 200, let's say 50 milligram per kilogram body weight, which is low. Okay, higher than what conventional what many other people would consider. However, it's still low if you truly understand vitamin C. So it translates to about 3,500 milligram of vitamin C for a 70 kilogram person, which 70 is 150-ish pounds, 150 pounds person, okay, which is weight light in the United States. So that's only 3,500 milligram, and we should use probably 10 times that dose. Now, anyway, so even with that kind of low dose here in this study, it's a randomized trial. It shows that vitamin C is able to cut short the ICU stay and also reduce the 28-day mortality rate and reduce the ventilation days. Now, as early as in March, I reviewed these data and published this article, Can Early and High IV Dose of Vitamin C Prevent and Treat the Coronavirus? And I hope we listen. If we listen, probably today the world won't be the same. Now, these are some of the experiences in China, and this is summarized in this paper published in July, and we have some data later. So basically, here, so about 50. In Shanghai, there were about 50 cases of moderate to severe COVID-19 patients with pneumonia were treated at high dose vitamin C. The dosage is about 10,000 to 20,000 milligrams per day, and out of 300 and some patients. And no one of this group died, and the ICU stay was shortened. And there was one particular patient, interesting, which is the picture I showed you here. This gentleman with a cat. He's about 70 years of age, and he was deteriorating very rapidly, and his pulse ox, the oxygen saturation was decreasing rapidly. And this patient was given 50,000 milligrams, basically 5 grams of vitamin C bolus on top of the IV infusion. So he received a total of 62,000 milligrams in 24 hours. And you can see the oxygen saturation in real time improvement. Eventually he was discharged. As you can see here, he was cured and no consequences. Earlier this month, I think it was December 2nd or so, there's a paper coming out of, as most of you probably have seen, of Australia. A 40-year-old man also was given high-dose vitamin C and was showing real-time improvement in oxygen saturation. So this is coming. If you give high dose enough vitamin C, and not only vitamin C, but also all the antioxidants, you should be able to neutralize the free radicals released during the process of viral infection, and therefore reducing or maybe even heal the oxidative damage to the cells, or preventing the oxidative damages to cells and molecules in the microenvironment, and preserve our normal biochemistry physiology. And that's a very important part. And here's Dr. Mao. He's one of the expert panel in Shanghai Public Health Center in charge of the COVID-19 treatment. And this is in one of the ICU largest hospital in Shanghai. Now, let me just throw in here. Recently, just a couple of days ago, I also consulted on an Orlando Chinese patient. This is a lady who had a low-grade fever, about 100-ish, for like 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. And eventually he found out about me, and we consulted. Basically, I told her to go on our regimen, which I will show later, basically vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, quercetin, and hydrogen peroxide. And she did all of those. The next day, she felt much better. I mean, basically before that, she was obviously fatigued, nausea. She didn't have much appetite. She also had a loss of smell and taste, and tired, of course. And the next morning, she felt much better. This is Chinese character, and no more nausea, and no fever. Didn't have to take Tylenol. Of course, I told her not to take Tylenol. That can have a lot of liver damage. It may even a compound that may worsen the situation in this kind of scenario. Free radical, I mean, these oxidative damage can also damage the liver. Don't forget that. And okay. Anyway, so 2 days ago, I touched base with her again. So that was only about maybe 4 days into the treatment. With this regimen, she nearly totally recovered. The only thing she still has a little bit is slightly fatigued, but otherwise she's totally normal. So this is pretty powerful, actually. And she already was like 2 weeks behind. And I believe if she started early on, this could have been Delta was much better. Now, this is some of the preliminary data from the Wuhan clinical trial. They recruited from Dr. Chen. He was the principal investigator. Now, unfortunately, this clinical trial was stopped in the middle of it. Is because the reason for that is because they run out of patients, which is good news. The good news is that the COVID-19 was rapidly controlled in Wuhan. And the bad news is that there was no more patients to conclude the original design. And there were only 50 patients. The number is too small to really get significant, statistically significant data. But you can see what I want to show you in the red box here is that if you measure by, this is a little bit mismatched here, the IL-6, actually that's correct, the day 7 IL-6. If you use vitamin C, you can see IL-6, which is an inflammatory marker, marker for inflammation or oxidative stress. So you can see that vitamin C group shows significantly reduced level of IL-6. So we do know vitamin C reduces the inflammation, and this is the mortality rate. And due to the smaller number of the group, there was no statistical difference in the mortality group between the between BC group and control group. But you can kind of again on the right panel here, you can see the p-value is significant. In the more severe patients with the SOFA score, which is a measure of multi-organ failure. In the more severe group of patients, there does seem to be a significant reduction in the high-dose vitamin C group. Again, the number is too small. We hope we could do more and worldwide maybe. But in China, there are not that many very sick patients today. Now, so high-dose vitamin C has been in the official treatment guideline and also in the prevention guideline by Shanghai and Guangdong governments in China. And this was published, Shanghai government guideline was published back in March 1. And vitamin C, again, I highlighted here, is listed as a prevention for COVID-19. And based on a lot of experts. Vitamin C usage, actually lots of research in Shanghai, in China as well. And let me show in here, I didn't list here, is that in Wuhan, the sort of epicenter of COVID-19, the major hospitals, at least in Zhongnan Hospital, all the medical staff who have direct contact with patients were distributed with vitamin C powder. So these people were taking vitamin C powder a couple of grams a day. And that might also have helped. But as many of you have seen, tons of vitamin C powder were trucked into Wuhan City early on. And so this must have, we don't have data, but this may have had an impact on the control of COVID-19. Here I'm gonna go very quickly. Some other studies showing you vitamin C in common colds. For example, here this is an article of earlier this year in January, published in BMJ, the British Medical Journal, of a Korean study of 1,444 South Korean army recruits, and eventually, basically the message here is that vitamin C. This is a hard dose actually, pretty high. 6,000 milligram vitamin C daily. I, on average, take about 5,000 to 10,000 milligram a day, and not just for viral, but also for other, for example, immune boosting, heart health, bone health, that kind of chronic disease, health maintenance. And so, anyway, this study shows vitamin C may be able to help preventing the cold and also reduce the cold duration if you catch one. And here is a meta-analysis of 29 qualified clinical trials published by the Cochrane database, which is a pretty rigorous database. Not just one study. This is 29 studies, including a total of more than 11,000 people. So again, vitamin C at very low doses. These are like 200 milligrams. We're talking about 50 times higher if you take 10,000 milligrams a day. So vitamin C can reduce cold duration in adults, in children, and can reduce reduce severity of common cold. Okay, so lots of studies. High-dose vitamin C here again reduces cold symptoms. This is over 700 college students published back in 1999. And this is interesting. I want to list here is because the dose was high. Okay, so this study was basically vitamin C divided into two groups. The vitamin C group and the non-vitamin C control group. But in the vitamin C group, for those who catch cold, they will be given additional vitamin C. So you kind of have 3 groups. Okay, so those with symptoms of a cold would be given 1,000 milligram every hour for 6 hours. So that's 6,000 milligram for the first 6 hours, and then followed by 1,000 milligrams 3 times daily. For the vitamin C group without symptoms, they would be given 1,000 milligrams 3 times daily. So that's 3,000 total a day. And control group are obviously no vitamin C. So basically, conclusion again is that vitamin C is able to reduce symptoms, cold symptoms by 85%. And the vitamin C appears to be able to reduce the risks of catching cold for those 3,000 milligram daily patients. Okay. So combined with other studies, so vitamin C does appear to have the effects of preventing cold and reducing the severity of colds, and also maybe cutting short of the duration of cold. Now, so we have established that vitamin C is effective in various viral conditions, as common colds to as severe as viral pneumonias, including acute lung injury and ARDS with poor ventilation. Vitamin C is effective. Okay. Now let's talk about the safety issue. Okay. Lots of studies, but I just want to give you, not to give you my version or any other expert version you may not trust, but let me give you an official version. We all like to have an official version. Well, this version comes from the physician data query published by the National Cancer Institute, NIH. I don't see how more official can this be. So this PDQ has been updated over the past couple of years, because I've been giving a lot of lectures. Every time I give a lecture, I try to update to see. And the most recent update actually is October 13th. They do a pretty good job. But there's not much change, because the bulk of the research has been done, okay, in the past. So in the summary, so a highlight is that high dose by IV vitamin C. Okay, let me define what is high dose IV vitamin C. Up to 1,500 milligram per kilogram body weight. That's high dose. Now let's translate into plain English. So basically, for a 70 kilogram body weight person, again, 70 kilogram body weight is roughly only about 150 pounds. That's light, okay? So for somebody of that 150 pounds, 1,500 milligram means 90,000 milligram of vitamin C. Okay, remember, FDA's RDA, recommended daily dose of vitamin C, is only 90 milligrams. Here we're dealing with 90,000 milligrams. That's 1,000 times higher. Okay, so high dose vitamin C, not just by mouth. I'm talking about through through IV, through the veins. Through the veins, in general, that tends to be more dangerous, because you don't have the GI barrier. Okay, so high dose vitamin C through the veins can be as high as 90,000 milligram for a 150 pound person, and that's being generally well tolerated in clinical trials without significant side effects. And this is the statement you can find in the physician data query published regularly, updated regularly by the National Cancer Institute, NIH. This is official. It's not for me. It's not only for me. Okay. Now, of course, with that said, there are a few caveats. Okay. Anything you have to be careful. Okay, and how to use these things properly. Now, here are a few issues you have to be. For example, patients with renal failure, particularly patients with not much urine, anuria, basically, if we are not able to excrete water from urine, vitamin C, if it's not used, it goes out of the body through the urine. And if the urine kidney function is damaged or impaired, you tend to have accumulation. That can be a problem. So you have to use vitamin C cautiously for these patients. Obviously, we also know about G6PD deficiency, and patients with this deficiency may have blood hemolysis, breakdown of the red blood cells. But again, low doses, that's not a concern. That's a simple blood test can tell you whether the patient has G6PD deficiency or not. Does not mean it's contraindicated. If it's necessary, you can still use it. I'm not going to go into detail here, but you have to be careful with those. But otherwise, it is very, very safe. Okay. And here, I am not going to go over too much into detail of the mechanisms. Just it's listed here. But basically, vitamin C is able to boost the mechanism in antiviral here is that there are a couple. One, obviously, we all know vitamin C boosts our immunity. I'm not going to go into the detail. Let me just tell you that actually vitamin C is highly concentrated in our white blood cells. Okay, there's a reason for that. When we have infection, white blood cells are the first ones to go into an infection site or wound site. Okay, it carries vitamin C to that site. There's a purpose for that. Okay, vitamin C, of course, is also highly concentrated in our adrenal glands. Well, we may not realize high stress actually exhausts our vitamin C rapidly. That's why you require a lot of vitamin C in the adrenal glands. Vitamin C is also highly concentrated in our brain. Okay, just a few organs are mentioned here. So, so vitamin C boosts immunity, but also vitamin C. Some of you may know, vitamin C in a series of reactions in our body with something we call Fenton reaction, it actually helps to generate hydrogen peroxide. And we know hydrogen peroxide is a disinfectant. It kills bugs, viruses, bacteria, and other stuff upon contact. Okay, it kills all bugs. Okay, and a lot of people don't realize. Actually, I learned this from Tom Levy and other experts. Hydrogen peroxide actually is a natural product in our body, just like I mentioned. In practically, we have to think about it. We all know our normal cells have an enzyme system called catalase. Catalase basically that just breaks down hydrogen peroxide in our normal cells. Okay, so hydrogen peroxide does not affect or impair our normal cells because of the catalase. Now, this enzyme is absent in bugs or viruses. And also, I want to throw in here is that hydrogen peroxide, the catalase is also deficient or impaired in cancer cells. And we don't talk too much today. Vitamin C, we all know, most likely, that high-dose vitamin C is also used in cancer treatment. I use it too for cancer treatment and for anti-aging. So the mechanism for cancer cell killing cancer cell is also here is probably because high-dose vitamin C in the cancer cells generates a lot of hydrogen peroxide, and cancer cells are not able to degrade hydrogen peroxide, at least not efficiently. Therefore, hydrogen peroxide kills the cancer cell. Okay. So that's another mechanism. And there are other mechanisms, so I'm not going to go into detail. And here are some other, the official government endorsement of vitamin C. This is from European Food Safety Authority, and recognizes vitamin C's effects in immune system. And again, also European Food Safety Agent, establishes vitamin C as not only it protects the DNA, proteins, lipid from oxidative damage, and also normal collagen formation and normal function of the nervous system, normal function of our immune system. These are all official endorsements by the government agencies. Okay, now here's one question. To me, vitamin C, I mean, obviously that goes without saying, vitamin C is very inexpensive, and vitamin C is also readily available. You can just actually buy it everywhere. So to me, vitamin C is with everything to gain and nothing to lose. It's very safe. Why don't we use vitamin C then? Where's the common sense? And I established here, vitamin C appears to, like I said, is safe, and it apparently is effective against a lot of viral infections, and appears to be effective in COVID-19 as well. Why don't we use it? Why don't we publicize it? It beats me. I don't understand it. What's the common sense here? Okay. Now, obviously, like I said, not only vitamin C, but other antioxidants. I repeatedly mentioned in this throughout this talk, I will talk more later, is that oxidative stress for COVID-19 is the key underlying mechanism. It is not unique to COVID-19. It is universal to these respiratory viral infections. Not only that, but also to other viral infections. So if you use properly high enough antioxidants, including vitamin C, you should be able to prevent oxidative damage of these viruses to our cells, like DNA, lipids, cells, proteins, and or repair the damages if use the high enough dose and early on, soon enough, okay? So that's very critical. Now, that's the message I want to deliver here. Okay. Now, this is, again, it's my own, I'm not, I'm just sharing with you all what I did. Earlier, I spent like 10 months in Shanghai, and early November, I went to Switzerland for a talk, and this is what I took. Okay, everybody, was so scared to fly, but I was taking more than 10,000 milligram vitamin C. I divided a couple of times because vitamin C has a short duration, maybe in a couple of hours. So I was, drinking throughout the day, and also for a shorter period of time, for like a 7 day, 10 days, particularly in winter time now, I was taking 10,000 units of vitamin D3 for myself. Okay? And when I was on the road, and I was taking zinc, 100 milligram a day. Now I'm back home in the United States. I'm cutting down to 50 milligram a day during this COVID season. Vitamin D3, now I'm taking about 5,000 IU a day. Vitamin C, I still take the same amount. I take the magnesium 500 to 1,000 milligram a day. I've been taking this for years and years, okay? And also hydrogen peroxide. And I have been on the road, I was, doing the nebulization. And now what I do is when I go out, I love badminton, and when I go to play with, you don't wear a mask when you play badminton. So I come back, I take these, but also I would use 3% hydrogen peroxide in the nebulizer. I will just breathe in, cover nostrils and mouth. And I have allergy, I have the nasal, sometimes I get stuck in the nose, because when I get a little bit excited. And so I would nebulize hydrogen peroxide after I come back from the crowd, for 10, 15 minutes. And the lady I just showed you also took on hydrogen peroxide. A lot of people, report that recover pretty quickly. And also I take many other antioxidants, mitochondrial nutrition. This is the sort of regimen. That's the same regimen I gave this to Orlando lady, and she recovered it pretty quickly. And here are some books and by Tom Levy, The Primal Panaceia, Death by Calcium. Lots of information on vitamin C in these books. And these are Chinese translations published on Amazon and in China. Now, let's switch gear a little bit. Here, I want to show you epidemics and pandemics. And this is an article back, I think, in March by BBC. Is COVID-19 over the past century, new epidemics and pandemics like SARS, MERS, and COVID-19 have increased by fourfold, 400%. And they have doubled over the past 40 years. This, I didn't realize that. I mean, to me, infectious disease was pretty much a non-issue, I thought, until COVID-19, because I'm not an infectious disease expert, actually. And I thought that's not a big deal. We have plenty of antibiotics, all these other measures. Who cares about infectious disease? I care more about heart attacks, diabetes, obesity, and cancer. These are the diseases we talk about, but then when we started doing research, you see, I thought pandemics and epidemics are associated with, poor technology, poor socioeconomic status, but I was surprised. Okay, now you have to say, today, economically, I would say we are much better than 200 years ago, 100 years ago, right? But why are the epidemics and pandemics on the rise? So this is a BBC report. Now, the next, this is a Wall Street Journal report. It's also in March. Okay, you can read the title. Global viral outbreaks like the coronavirus once were rare. Now will become more common. This is on Wall Street Journal. Now here is my research on Wikipedia. They have a list of the epidemics over the past. Now here's my little study here. In the 200 years of 19th and 20th centuries, I counted it. Yes, I literally counted it. Okay, there were a total of 98 epidemics and pandemics listed on this Wikipedia page. Okay, so 98 over 200 years, on average about 0.49, 0.5% each year. Now, if we counted the first 20 years of this century, 21st century, I counted 63 epidemics and pandemics. That's 63 in 20 years. That's 3.25 each year. Now, I know this is probably not truly a scientific way, but if you simply divide 3.15 each year for this century's 20 years, over the 0.249 average of the past 200 years of the 19 or 20 years, so in this century, we have seen 6.4 times more epidemics and pandemics than the poor times we had before. I don't understand why. Maybe rapid, because people today will travel so fast. Within hours, we're in a different continents, okay? And I don't know. But anyway, this is a fact. The point I'm making here is that, so we have to be aware. We are in the middle of a COVID-19 pandemic. The world has been in a lockdown state, unfortunately, for nearly a year. And I don't know when is out. Hopefully next summer or maybe even longer, okay? But don't forget, I'm not trying to scare you. COVID-19 is not the last one we'll see, and very likely we'll see again another epidemic or endemic or pandemic. Hopefully not. The message here, I want to tell everybody, hopefully those people in the leadership, in various industries or government, is that this year, when COVID-19 appeared, we panicked. From presidents, government officials, medical authorities to average people. We panicked. Okay. So we rushed to study COVID-19 virus. We rushed to study for vaccines, specific drugs. Well, that's all good and important. But we all know, these research and studies take time. And we still, and luckily, vaccines start rolling out. This is almost 1 year later. And this is, a lot of people have died and we suffered a lot of economic losses. What I hope we had a year earlier. Now, what I want to say here is that if we don't learn how we can, from COVID-19, unfortunately, when the next major epidemic or pandemic strikes again, we will repeat the panic that we experienced. Now, one message, hopefully, I'm not sure, hopefully our audience will be able to prevent or intervene early on when COVID-19, unfortunately, will catch COVID-19. But hopefully the world can learn something from COVID-19 and can get us out of COVID-19 quickly. And also in the future, hopefully we're not, but if epidemic strikes again, we can intervene soon. We don't have to wait for specific drugs or vaccines. Okay, that's the message I want to give. Okay, so here I want to talk a little bit about how we can protect it. This is one article published back, I think, in May. I call it protected population immunity. Well, we all know for COVID-19 to stop, basically you have to have, virus will not disappear by itself, okay? Because it basically just circulates in the worldwide right now, and anywhere there will be pockets of people with harboring the virus, it will not disappear, it will start spreading again. So we cannot lock down the whole world until the virus is cured. That's not possible, okay? So eventually, we still have to have the world citizens to be immune to COVID-19 through many different ways, okay, including vaccines, okay, and particularly, more importantly, through our own immune system, okay. Now, so this is, population immunity, controversial, but that's a fact. We have to be, I'm not saying we have to expose people to virus and then, sacrifice a portion of them. That doesn't sound humane, okay? That doesn't sound right. But the thing, my message from my earlier analysis, I show that young people, particularly people younger than 50 years of age, these people, particularly without underlying compromising diseases, these people have pretty good, strong immune system against COVID-19. And it's like a cold. Do we lock down for common cold? No, we don't, okay? So what I'm saying is that, our society probably should be stratified, and the young, healthy people should carry out the, lives and work as normal. And the immune compromised, older, young, kids and pregnant women should be better protected. They will be better, more or less in the lockdown situation, that may be okay. And on top of that, we all need to live a healthy life, and with other nutritional supports. And so here the question is that how to stop COVID-19, how to prevent future epidemics. Vaccines. Now, like I mentioned, we needed a vaccine a year ago. Okay, right now, yes, it's still important, but it's 1 year too late. Millions of people, or over a million people, that's too late. Okay, now, so I already mentioned here, the problem with vaccine, or specific, the one major problem with today's medicine is that we try to, we view, the current medicine views every disease as a specific disease, as a unique disease. It views COVID-19 as a unique disease and has nothing to do with other viral infections. That's the major mistake. And I'm sorry, I get a little bit excited. I think that's pretty simply stupid. I don't know, I can't refrain myself. I can't understand why all those experts don't understand this, okay? Research and development of new drugs and vaccines take time. Takes a lot of time, okay? And we're having vaccines rolling out right now. This is a record in history. It has never happened again. And I hope it works. I hope it's safe, but we have to see, because it's a mRNA virus vaccine is a brand new technology, and being tried on billions of people. We'll see what's going to happen. And I hope everything goes smooth, because we all need to get out of this. But again, vaccine should be part of the tools we have, not the only one. Unfortunately, again, I don't understand all the messages we hear from the major authorities, medical authorities worldwide, except China, actually, I have to say, is that vaccine. Okay. Don't we have anything else to offer people? we will analyze a lot of other things are available. Okay. And again here, why there has never been vaccine for SARS, MERS, and other major, epidemics? There's a reason. I'm not going to go into that today. Okay. And historically, there has never been a vaccine that was developed and employed in the middle of an ongoing new epidemic or pandemic to stop the epidemic or pandemic in the history of medicine. Never. And I hope this is new. This is the first time. I hope so. But it has never happened again. Okay. And well, this I should have. This is a slide actually I made in April to my invited lecture at the NIH. So at that time there was no vaccine, but now we begin to have vaccine. Okay. And again, the last message here I said here is that I have never heard any global leaders in science, in medicine, in industry, or politics mentioning other remedies, measures than vaccines. Why is that? Okay. So my message is that other than vaccines, we have a lot of other ways to do. And if we repeat this process again, if we are going to repeat this process, vaccines only to prevent a new epidemic, so when the next one strikes again, we will repeat what we've been just going through, unfortunately. And if we don't wake up, if the world citizens and medicine don't wake up, this process will happen again. Now, we already talked a lot about this protected population immunity. Basically, like I said again, other than vaccines, we would recommend vitamin C, vitamin D3, zinc, magnesium. We know that zinc kills virus, and also hydroxychloroquine is basically it's an ionophore. It helps the zinc. What's acting agent is not HCQ, it's the zinc. And quercetin and the hydroxychloroquine both help zinc to internalize into the cells to kill the virus. That's what it does. HCQ is a prescription drug, but quercetin is a over-the-counter, inexpensive nutritional supplement. You can get it anywhere. Okay, so you can use these properly and in proper dosages. These agents should be able to prevent reduce the risks of developing these diseases and also intervene and to cut short of these diseases. Okay, and I believe protected population immunity, again, like I mentioned, we should give these things to people to reduce to protect our citizens and to reduce the risk of catching COVID-19 or other viral infection in the future, and so we can restore normal life to the world. Okay, now so that's about protected population immunity, and the detail is in the paper I published. And now let's switch gear and analyze a little bit between of interactive also molecular medicine and the conventional Western medicine. So we all heard of the term complementary alternative medicine. And basically the movement started probably mostly in the 1990s. And why? Because the current medicine, the evidence-based medicine, the so-called EBM, became a central dogma in the current Western medicine, also started in the 1990s, along with the others. And because many doctors, scientists felt, started exploring, these are the list of names they started developing: anti-aging medicine, also molecular medicine, integrative medicine, functional medicine, and natural medicine. And so basically, in my view, these new schools of sorts differ from the conventional Western medicine being practiced today in three, I summarize in three views. Okay. And I summarize as a holistic view of health. Basically, we should take a holistic view, treat the whole body, not only looking at the lungs. For example, COVID-19, we talk, COVID-19 causes pneumonia, or COVID-19 causes brain damage, COVID-19 causes loss of smell or taste, COVID-19 causes even, damage in the testes. It's not surprising if you understand it. You don't have to study each and every one of them because these are all the results of oxidative damage. Okay, so holistic view. That's I've been talking a lot today. The natural view. Let me just briefly describe. In the management of chronic disease or health prevention. Now, drugs and hospitals are necessary. They exist for a reason. They've done a fantastic job in treatment of acute diseases. Okay, I'm not here to, to belittle Western medicine, and I came from Western medicine myself. However, let me use that analogy. If you drive a Honda car and the Honda car breaks down and you need a new part, so you are ready to putting a new Honda part into your car, basically treating your disease, right? And here comes a Mercedes-Benz salesperson. He says, hey, look, the Honda part is too cheap and, too casual. Here, I have a better one, patented, brand new, hot off press, and expensive. Would you want a bent part in your Honda car? Or not? Why? Is because the bent part is not natural part of a Honda car. I hope most of my audience, like myself, we're healthy. Now, what makes you healthy? Do you take drugs to maintain health if you're healthy already? No. What makes us healthy is not a drug. By drug here, usually I mean a foreign substance that's different from our natural body parts. Unfortunately, in today's world, patents are only issued to things that are unique, that's creative, and that's new, foreign to our body. But a foreign body in our body may not always fit, okay? So I am worried, actually, if you introduce a new and a foreign substance in your body for a long time, I'm a little bit worried, okay? So if absolutely unnecessary, unless it's absolutely necessary, I wouldn't put anything that's new to my body. Health is maintained by normal healthy lifestyle, proper nutritious diets, exercise, and proper nutrition. Nutrition are all natural substances, not foreign bodies. Okay, that's what I call natural view. Balanced view, obviously, when you treat lungs, you have to consider kidney as well. Okay, you cannot, it's like in surgery. Surgery is beautiful, the patient is dead, right? So you have to treat the patient, not a particular disease, not a particular organ. So those are three views, okay? And so here I'm gonna talk a little bit about the evidence-based medicine. Let me make sure my time. So now I'm gonna switch gear to chronic disease a little bit, okay, about longevity medicine and the differences here. Now, so chronic diseases kill most of us, okay? And talking about longevity, we always talk about how many years, how old can we live to, how many years we can live to, and a lot of drug companies, doctors, scientists try to invent a longevity molecule. But if you look at it, actually, very few of us die of natural cause, without any diseases. The major reason that we don't live to our natural lifespan is because we all mostly die of chronic diseases. We know, for example, cancer cuts our lifespan short by average a couple of years. Diabetes, cardiovascular disease, about average about 15 years or so. And so lots of research has been done in the past. So if you do not have diabetes, if you do not have cardiovascular diseases or cancer, so basically you can regain the life potentially lost due to those diseases. Actually, you'll be able to live to about 120 years. Simply research. So my message here is that anti-aging medicine, if you want to live a long, healthy life, don't look for a miracle drug. First of all, the message is you need to prevent and reverse or intervene these chronic diseases. So you will be able to live to your natural lifespan, which is probably on the average of 115 to 125 years of age. Very few of us do live to that age today. Why? Because we're cut short by the natural or chronic disease. I'm going to talk a little bit more. So now today, let me first of all talk about the differences between the evidence-based medicine (EBM) and the anti-aging or integrative medicine. Now, I already mentioned here the two key messages I want to mention in this part of the talk is that, again, oxidative stress. We're talking about oxidative stress in COVID-19, but here we're also, it's oxidative stress that's at the center of chronic diseases. Not only that, but also mitochondria. Mitochondrial dysfunction is observed in almost all chronic diseases that at least of all chronic diseases that I have researched, that I have studied on. Okay, they all have mitochondrial dysfunction. Okay. Now, I already mentioned, to me, anti-aging medicine, there are two definitions. In the general sense of anti-aging is that any measure that can prevent and treat chronic diseases, like I mentioned, that will be able to allow us to live to our full lifespan. So that's anti-aging medicine. I think a lot of people have been misunderstanding, even scientists. Yes, those scientists and the doctors, even the top-notch ones, they have the best cells in the world, is that they are looking at the specific sense of anti-aging medicine. Okay, so they are looking at the cells. For example, we talk about telomeres and all the others. Yeah. Okay. They forgot about DNA, the genetics and everything, because nobody dies today, or very few people die because of they have all these other issues. Because, like I mentioned, it's chronic diseases. Okay, so if clearly, I'm going to talk a little bit more. If anybody, basically, if you want to live a long and healthy life, you need to prevent and reverse chronic diseases. If anybody is going to sell you a miracle drug that's going to expand their lifespan, think twice. That's either a misunderstanding about anti-aging or it's a scam. Okay, so you have to do your fundamental things first: healthy lifespan, nutrition, and the toxic, all the other things. I'm going to talk a little bit more. So why? Because those are the things that will kill you before your telomere gets short enough to kill you, or because of your other issues. Okay. Now, again, we all can live to about 120 years. The bad news is that, again, is that I'm repeating this message: is that do not expect to live a long life by popping a longevity pill. This will not happen. You will have to make some hard choices in our life. You have to get out of your couch to exercise. Okay, cut down, improve your improve your diet, improve your lifestyle. These are the fundamental ones. Yes, you're absolutely right. I cannot make a penny out of this, but it's important. Okay, it's important. Very important message. It's much more effective than popping a pill. Unfortunately, people are too lazy. They don't want to think that they just want to pop a pill. It's not going to work. Now, let's go to talk a little bit about evidence-based medicine. What are the problems in evidence-based medicine? Why we mismanage the COVID-19? We discussed a little bit early on, but here, COVID specifically, I already mentioned the EBM's movement started in 1990s. And it has become a central dogma of the current medicine. Basically, the intention was very great. Well, the originally EBM, forefathers wanted to the doctors to base our clinical treatment decisions on facts, on evidence, and to integrate all the evidence you can get from RCT studies, from basic research, from your self-experience, from experts' opinion, to arrive at a judicious, legitimate, and rational and responsible decision for every patient. But unfortunately today, most doctors forgot what the EBM is. Why? Because this time about vitamin C, every doctor and scientist, when I talk to them about the effectiveness of vitamin C, they always ask, do you have RCT? Well, I said, yes, plenty. Yes, I have plenty. But I say, you know, there's a lot of, basically what I'm saying is that there are several lines of, basic evidence-based medicine. The center part of it is the evidence. There are several lines of evidence that makes up the evidence, okay? And basically, like I said, RCTs, and I listed here, RCTs, physician, personal experience, and experts' opinion. Evidence-based medicine, the term is kind of new, but it's being practiced for 1,000 years. Doctors have been always based on their experience, on evidence. In the past 100 years ago and the thousands of years ago, they didn't have statistics, they didn't have RCT. However, it was done based on evidence, okay? But today, most doctors, scientists forgot, and they equal EBM to RCT. That's bad, that's wrong, okay? So that's one major problem, okay? And people misinterpret EBM as RCT. Expert opinion, I'm repeating, expert opinion and personal experience, doctor's experience is also very critical. And one other part of EBM is there's really not enough room for logics or mechanistic reasoning. Like I mentioned here, you see oxidative stress being a common pathology, common mechanism under these underlying these viral infections. So we, without, even trying on COVID-19, we can mechanistically reason and derive at that vitamin C or antioxidants is a natural cure for COVID-19. This, we can say it's common sense. Unfortunately, EBM doesn't allow that. There's not much room for that. That's one part of the EBM that we need to add into. Who says common sense doesn't have a place in medicine? I don't understand that part. We don't need common sense anymore? Huh? That's the problem. Now, look at the evidence. Now, I mentioned the evidence-based medicine. The key center part is evidence. Let me show you some data about evidence. Now, this is some paper, basically 2015, Johns Hopkins University published some papers, and there are some comments on the Baltimore Sun at the time as well. So this Johns Hopkins study showed that between 2006 and 2014, 8 or 9 years period, the NIH-funded RCTs decreased by 24%. That's 1/4. While for-profit company funded RCTs increased by 43%, nearly half. Okay. Now let's analyze the data a little bit. When mostly for government, NIH is a government funding agency, and the government funded or public health agency funded RCTs generally have public health interest in mind. Their purpose is to improve public health. Their purpose is not to make a profit. Okay. But naturally, for-profit companies mostly they do RCTs for the profit, for the purpose to make a profit. They have to make money because today RCTs are very expensive. At least millions of dollars need to be spent, and oftentimes they may be lost. And therefore, it's natural to expect them to make a profit out of it. Therefore, RCTs then generally, corporate funded RCTs generally have profits in mind, not the public health interest at the first place. Okay, and therefore, as you can see here, with the 8-9 years span, we have you see the for-profit company RCTs have been increasing, and the public health agency funded RCT has been decreasing, resulting in bias in the components that would make up the RCT. We know, for example, healthy lifestyle, nutrition like vitamin C, these topics, obviously everybody knows, this is common sense, it's important, but because research RCTs on these topics generally cannot make a profit. I mean, me and my many other co-workers, colleagues promote vitamin C, talk about vitamin C, we can't make a profit out of it, because why? There's no patent. We purely do of hearts, right? And so, I mean, I don't blame the company because of how the world works, right? Is because, you know, they invest money, they expect to make money out of it. However, this is a fact, is that the evidence in the evidence-based medicine is gradually being diluted and being biased. Maybe being biased. Now that's an important point I want to make here, is that if the evidence is biased, then how can you trust the conclusion coming out of these studies? Now that's a problem we all need to work to solve. Okay. Now let's go down further here. The same research published by John Hopkins also showed in 1 year, out of 1,500 cancer papers. Now these 1,500 papers are published on major journals, not all cancer. There's a lot more cancer papers. Okay. 1/3 of it, roughly 500. 1/3 of these papers have major conflict of interest. Again, this is another piece of evidence that shows the evidence may be biased. Again, the data coming out, you know, if we FDA, whatever the drug recommendation, the standardized treatment guidelines coming out, these data may be biased. Okay, so that's part of the problem in our evidence-based medicine. These are all just hard facts. Okay. Now, unfortunately, about 70% of the new drugs approved by FDA are Me Too drugs. That's okay. I mean, they are not really innovative. I mean, you know, of course, having more choices for patients is always good. However, these are not innovative disease-fighting drugs. And so basically, it's like a redundant, and the money and the resources can better be spent in other areas. But anyway, that's a minor issue. Okay. Now, that's a way to talk about one problem of EDM. Now, I want to talk about another problem in EDM, what I call Nobel Prize mentality. So Nobel Prize mentality has been dominating medicine today. Okay, and I want to bring up this slide first. Let's look at this chart. This chart comes from the Nobel Prize Committee. Okay, that shows you the Nobel Prizes awarded to physiology and medicine. Okay, and it shows you the over 120 years or so. Basically, you see, 100 years ago, the Nobel Prize is awarded to clinicians or clinical studies anywhere between 60, 70% to 90%. And it has been gradually decreasing, as you can see clearly, down to about 20% in the last 20 or so years. So more and more research has been awarded to basic science. Okay, so now, nothing wrong with basic research. It's important. We have to understand basic research, basic science, how body works. For example, like we're talking about vitamin C mechanisms. But in clinical medicine, ultimately, basic research serves, the purpose of that is to treat or prevent diseases and prolong our life, right? We didn't do basic research for fun. We want to achieve something in real life. So we understand. Basic research and clinical medicine are two completely different disciplines. They require different thought processes and methodologies. We all understand. Basic research tends to dissect or break down complex clinical pictures into smaller and solvable, controllable parts and study one part at a time. For example, we want to study one molecule and try to, that's what the RCT means. We control all the other parts. You know, for example, the best scenario is in a cell culture in the laboratory, temperature, cell molecule, everything else being the same. We just vary one component and see what happens. So that's how basic research is done. Okay, complex problems breaking down to simpler, more controllable one molecule, one cell, one organ at a time. That's okay. That's necessary, important. I've done that. Yes, I do have a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology, and I've done a lot of research in the field, actually, particularly in cancer genome stability. Now, look, coming back, I'm also a clinician. Looking at the clinical side. Now, a clinical doctor, you cannot treat the patients like a basic science doctor, okay? You cannot, after somebody comes in with for example, that's what happens today. So then, we see that all the time. Let's say a obese patient with let's say hypertension comes to see a cardiologist, and the doctor most likely is gonna focus on the blood pressure and just changing just in the blood pressure drop. And he's not able, or she is not equipped or able to deal with the terrible other problems associated with this patient. The patient may be 50 pounds overweight. We know if we simply let this patient lose 50 pounds, and I have done that, the blood pressure, hypertension problem may simply be gone. Okay, so a clinician needs to integrate all best research evidence along with the doctor's experience and the judgment, and also the patient's condition, financial abilities as well, and into a legitimate, reasonable, holistic, integrative plan. So these two thought processes and the tools are quite different. But we know today, the authorities in medicine and those people who advise our governments, and those people who write treatment guidelines, those people at the FDA, at the CDC, and NIH, and most of them come through the pyramid ladder, through writing papers, through basic research. So today's world, because not every scientist, of course, if they don't want to win a Nobel Prize, they are not good scientists, right? So today's world has been dominated by this Nobel Prize mentality. Everybody tries to publish to the best research because that's how you can ascend to the top. Unfortunately, eventually you probably lost the concept of clinical management. So in a summary, those who write treatment guidelines probably don't practice medicine very much. Those who practice medicine don't get to write treatment guidelines. That's the dichotomy today. That's another major part in evidence-based medicine. Okay. So with these, I think we have to fix. Hopefully, with the COVID-19, it's a wake-up call. We can somehow fix this EBM and incorporate the three views I mentioned, the integrative, balanced whole view, and natural view. A is Mr. Nobel, Albert Nobel, and I don't think he had this. Today's Nobel Prize to physiology and medicine, I don't think that's how Mr. Nobel had in his mind, because like I highlighted from this is supposed to, Nobel Prize in physiology is supposed to be awarded to both physiology and clinical medicine, but today a lot more based research and much less in clinical medicine. I will show you. Now, all I said in more detail, I summarized in this paper just recently published, I think less than a month ago, in Journal of Orthomolecular Medicine, entitled COVID, I misspelled here, I'm sorry, entitled COVID-19 Highlights the Shortcomings of Evidence-Based Medicine. Here, let me give you a summary of my view of integrative medicine. So we know all diseases have root causes. And these root causes go through processes. Eventually, they present or manifest as physical symptoms, or the four circles here. The two on the left panel, side 1 and 2, not inclusive, but basically the external factors and the individual and the personal factors. Okay, some of these factors are out of your control. For example, the environmental pollution and the EMF today, physiological, chemical, viral infection, COVID-19, largely it's out of their control. I mean, viruses are flowing out there. And so those are external factors. Those are root causes. Internally, you have unhealthy lifestyle, you have stress, poor sleep, and the lack of exercise, poor nutrition, poor diet. You may also have hormonal imbalance. I may not be able to talk about that today. And a lot of these factors, I call it modifiable. So what you can do is do what you can do, right? You cannot go out to kill virus. You're not like Don Quixote, I'm going to kill you. No, you cannot do that. But what you can do is, yes, improve your lifestyle, okay? And reducing stress, get plenty of sleep, exercise, reducing. Some of the things you cannot do is genetics. We talk so much about genetics. I have a PhD in molecular biology. I'm not that belittling genetics, okay? But you cannot change the gene sequence, for God's sake. Right now, we cannot do it. So don't talk too much about it. Okay, we have talked too much. We have to focus on other aspects. Diseases and health actually is more about these other factors. But I do want to mention here, actually, the gene mutation process. I'm going to talk about it here. So basically, these root causes will cause our body to undergoing these processes. I already mentioned a lot about oxidative stress. It's the center. Let me mention a little bit here. I may not get a chance to later. Oxidative stress I mentioned. Basically, we already talked about oxidative stress. Basically, it's the toxin. All toxins are oxidants. Okay, and oxidants are chemicals that grab electrons from the environment and then disrupts the biochemistry, causing diseases. And antioxidants, basically antioxidants. Antioxidants are chemicals that are able to give out electrons to quench or to satisfy the oxidant or the toxin. Therefore, save our normal important molecules like DNA, proteins, and lipids, our cells, from damage by oxidants. These are antioxidants. So, antioxidant nutrition. Okay, so in the biochemical level, actually, why are we alive today? I mean, what's the definition of life? In medicine or in forensic medicine, we define life, we define death by absence of EKG or ECG and EEG. Basically, no electricity in the heart, no electricity in the brain. We call death, right? So basically, life in essence is electricity. If you review our chemistry a little bit, of course, our bioelectricity is direct current, okay? Basically, electricity is the flow of electrons. And basically, it's electrons from one molecule to another. The molecule that loses the electron is called being oxidized in biochemistry. And the molecule that receives the electron is called being reduced. So that creates electricity. That happens to every cell membrane in our cell, in between every molecule when they have interaction. That's electron transfer. Okay, when cells combine, that's electron transfer. Okay, so in essence, life and therefore diseases at the biochemical level is just a bunch of reductive, oxidative and reductive reduction, basically redox reaction. Okay, so in essence, oxidative stress underlines all normal health and diseases. So it's a part of the process. And we need that oxidative stress because that's also a signal for our cell replication and everything else. Mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria, we know, is our battery, is the energy source in our cell, okay? And that's associated with cancer, with many other, practically all chronic diseases where research has been done. And also many toxins in our body that will damage your gut, called the leaky gut, okay? Dysbiosis, imbalance of our bacterial flora, and also genetic mutations I mentioned earlier, and telomere shortage and others. So these are processes. Okay. most of us, because why are the processes? Because these are the processes, these are caused by the root causes, and through these processes going on to cause clinical problems. And we focus too much about genetic mutation. Mutations are not, for most people, not root causes. They are part of the processes. And I mentioned earlier, yes, no, we cannot change our genetic sequence. We cannot change our DNA sequence. But yes, we can change the expression of our genes, what we call epigenetic regulation. The nutrition, toxin, lifestyle can change the signals coming out of genes. Okay, so let's focus less on the gene sequences, focus more on the factors that can influence, hopefully beneficially, the genetic expression. Okay, so now let's move on to the clinical manifestation. Basically, at a clinical stage, we see cancer, we see heart diseases, we see diabetes, Alzheimer's, depression, autoimmune disease, and COVID-19 here. So clinical medicine today, we largely focus on after the circle number 4. We see clinical medicine, we see every disease as a separate disease. They fail to recognize, I already mentioned in the first 2 slides, they fail to recognize the common mechanisms underlying these diseases. These are all common ones. Oxidative stress is not unique to any particular disease. The onset, the amount may be different, okay, but the nature is the same. So clinical medicine today only focus mostly on number 4, and maybe a little bit on the 3 here. Nearly no on 1 and 2. Okay. And integrative medicine or orthomolecular medicine, anti-aging medicine, functional medicine, we like to intervene at all 4 levels. Yes, we need to control the symptoms. We can't let a hypertension patient walking around with high blood pressure. We need to reduce it. At the same time, we like to intervene at the very root causes. Okay, and if these mostly they do have it, the processes, we also intervene, try to fix them. For example, leaky gut, we can help to fix the leaky gut, imbalance the bacterial flora in the gut, we try to fix that, and oxidative stress, we can fix that. Okay. Now, this is a cartoon illustration by my daughter, Sophia, a fine artist. And the message here I want to show you is that, at the surface, you see heart disease, you see cancer, you see diabetes, obesity, all these other diseases. Okay, that's how today's medicine only look at these diseases. What they fail to see is in these underground, these common root systems. Okay, the poor diet, toxins, unhealthy lifestyle, nutrition deficiency, only list a few. Okay, we didn't want to make it complicated. These are the common root causes shared by all these diseases to various degrees. Okay, so that's the view we should have. Okay, illustrated on this website by this cartoon. And so here I'm going to show you a few, for example, I show you here the cancer. Today we talk about, mostly we have heard cancer as a genetic disease and caused by the genetic mutation, so-called somatic mutation theory. And most people still believe that cancer is a genetic disease. But as I illustrated, actually also, practically nobody argues that the vast majority of cancer today, or at least 90%, are caused by the carcinogens. There's no dispute over there. The hereditary cancers are few, okay, and mostly caused by carcinogens. So we already, in the mainstream medicine, we already admit that cancers are caused by carcinogens. Here, carcinogens. Carcinogens cause genetic mutations, which in turn causes cancer. But how many doctors have you heard in clinical medicine side, not in the lecture classroom, mentioning about carcinogens in individual patients? Probably none, 0. they all focus on genetic mutations. Most or all of the cancer drugs today, whether chemotherapy agents or immune, modulation, the immune therapy, these are all targeting the superficial ones. None of them, as far as I know, target the root causes. So before I even mention any other theory, I'm going to introduce it briefly in that mitochondrial theory of cancer. So the theory per se is already flawed. In the current genetic mutation theory, we are not addressing the carcinogen. We admit the carcinogen as root causes, but we're not addressing it. Isn't that a problem? Now, this is another illustration of our understanding of chronic diseases. Using diabetes is probably one of the best researched chronic disease models. And let's see how the current medicine views it. And this is from this paper here and at the bottom here. Or here. Yeah. Anyway, so you see, the dotted line at the time 0 here is the onset or critical diagnosis point of diabetes. But we diagnose today still largely by measuring the fasting or post-meal or postprandial glucose level or fasting glucose level. Okay. So when you reach at this level, we say, yes, you have diabetes. Okay. But what we fail to see, if you look at the lower panel, is that more than 10 years, at least 10 years prior to the onset of diabetes, you see the insulin level, the red line here, insulin levels have been already increasing. This is for about average about 10 years. Okay. The beta cell, the cell in our pancreas secreting insulin, a green line here, beta cell function has been steadily declining already. By the time 0 here, the clinical diagnosis point, the beta cell function has already decreased significantly. And the research varies here by diagnosis. Probably 1/3 to 2/3 of pancreatic beta cells have been already irreversibly dead. Of course, this is redundant. If it's dead, you cannot raise the dead, right? So if it's dead, it's dead. So what I'm saying is by the time of clinical diagnosis, the damage, most of the damage is already done. Okay. In order to prevent, we need to move way earlier. This model actually applies to every chronic disease, not just diabetes. Okay. So all chronic diseases go through reversible, at the top of the slide, to irreversible or hard to reverse changes. Today, the way we deal with atherosclerosis, heart disease, is that I spend a lot of time in China, and I've seen quite a few patients with heart diseases. So basically, the way when these patients have coronary artery blockage, they see a cardiologist. They say, well, your blockage is less than 80%, and go home, do whatever you need to do, and come back when it's 80%, because I will do surgery the surgery. So that's the problem. Is that we do not intervene soon enough. We do not address the root cause. And if you start too late, those changes are irreversible. And this is highlighted. The current medicine is way too late to intervene when the damage is done. So this is a list of, am I doing okay, SD, time-wise? Should I hurry up a little bit?
You are free to take as much time as you want.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah. So this is a list, my list of summarizing the integrative or anti-aging medicine. So I would like to start with for myself. This is the thing I go through myself. Is lifestyle. That's the number one. Okay, if you live a healthy lifestyle that includes stress reduction, proper sleep, exercise, nutrition balance, diet. And actually, if you do that, 60-70% of at least 60-70% of the diseases can be prevented or reversed or improved at least. And And I want to particularly mention here is that nutritional balance. Nutrition balance is a large category, a lot of nutrients out there, but a few are in particular that are vitamin C, vitamin D3, magnesium. These are probably universally deficient among the patients. We know a lot, and anywhere, even in California, study shows that in the winter times, more than half the people in Los Angeles, with a lot of sunshine, are deficient in vitamin D3. And vitamin C, D3, magnesium are universally deficient. More than that, also I add here antioxidants and mitochondrial nutrients. And here I want to say is here on the third bullet point here is that toxins. So basically today, because of our deterioration in our soil and also the agricultural change, lots of I'm not a farmer, so I don't quite understand the farming methods, but due to the chemicals and the farming methods, the nutrition in our soil has been degraded, and also lots of chemicals in our food. So we see, and also our lifestyle change. More and more people eating more and more processed foods, fast foods, less whole foods and nutritious foods. There is a steady decrease in vitamins and nutrients, particularly antioxidant nutrients in our food. Therefore, in that ratio I mentioned earlier, the oxidative stress and basically oxidants versus antioxidants, we have reduced amounts of antioxidants in our diet. At the same time, we have more and more toxins in our environment, in the air, in the water, and in food, in the things we put on our, the shampoo, skincare products, even toothpaste. They all have these unnatural chemicals in them. Some of them are toxic. Okay, so we have a increased toxic load or oxidants and decreased antioxidant intake. Therefore, we naturally have increased chronic increased oxidative stress. Give you one example. We all know of omega-3, omega-6. We all know that fish oil. We also mostly know that omega-3 is antioxidant and omega-6 is pro-oxidant. Again, I mentioned oxidative stress is important. Don't think that oxidative, we don't need oxidative stress. Zero. No, that's not true. And also, like I mentioned, omega-6 is the nutritionally essential fatty acid. And omega-3 is a pro-oxidant. Okay, but don't think it's not essential. It's important. You need it. However, the normal ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 has been estimated anywhere between 1 to 1, 1 to 4, something like that. However, quite a few studies show that in America, the omega-3 to omega-6 level today varies from 1 to 18, 1 to 50. So we have way more omega-6 than omega-3. Therefore, by this ratio alone, not including other oxidants and antioxidants, you see a much elevated oxidative stress. Okay, so that's the point. The chronically elevated oxidative stress is a universally present phenomenon. And I beg you to, if you are in question, go to a database, PubMed, type in a particular disease you're interested in, look for oxidative stress. No, I have never found any research, of course there are always something that I probably don't know, so you let me know if you know something that I don't know, is that there's no study that I have found that they have done oxidative research and found no elevated stress in any chronic disease, unless there is no such disease. I didn't study that. Okay. All of these chronic diseases have elevated oxidative stress. Now, again here, toxins. I already mentioned that. Particularly, I want to mention heavy metals and chemicals. Okay. And let's not talk much about the EMF, the physiological radiation. These are also toxic. And because we can do things, we can take measures to avoid or remove these toxins or help our body to better process One simple way to do, for example, is exercise. Exercise to the degree of sweats. Whenever possible, unfortunately, I've been back to the United States for a month and a half now, 5 weeks actually. I have played only badminton for 2 times because of the lockdown, unfortunately. Normally in the United States, I would play 3 times a week, 3-4 times a week, at least 2 hours break out the sweats, and that's what I did in Shanghai as well. When you sweat like that, you are able to release a lot of the fat-soluble toxins, including some of the heavy metals. Okay, that's critical. So I encourage people to exercise. Sweat is the best because not only you sweat, but also you get other benefits. So if you cannot do that, hot shower helps. Sauna helps. Other ways, but you do need to sweat. That's easy, cheap way to do. Yeah, of course, there are ways you can pay money to do it. For example, help your liver to process these toxins, what we call liver detox, and also other ways. Now, gut health. This is the important part. I have paid attention. We always say a good doctor should always ask for a detailed history. And I have been trying. Every chronic disease patient, when I ask them, there's always gut problems. Most doctors don't spend time looking for it. Okay. Leaky gut is a major issue. Let me mention a little bit here about leaky gut. Scientifically, basically, we call it increased intestinal permeability. What does that mean in English, in plain English? It just means that large molecules that normally should not be able to pass through the lining of our intestinal tract now are able to pass through. We have our skin. Our skin protects our body from the environment. The bacteria, the virus. You put a HIV virus on your skin, you put the COVID-19 virus on your skin. The virus is not able to cut through your skin and get into your body. No. It's a very thick, very important barrier. Okay. Unless you have a cut. Okay. Our body is separated from our environment, from skin, and also skin extension, which is the lining in our gut. Also the lining in our lungs, the bronchial respiratory system. Normally, these linings and also our skin is intact. These foreign molecules, these foreign agents, viruses, bacteria, are not able to penetrate through. However, like I mentioned, because of these toxins in our food, in our water, in our air probably as well, because of the antibiotics and a lot of other drugs we take, and a lot of other alcohol and other unhealthy lifestyle we have, our lining is being destroyed on a regular basis, okay? And they don't get a chance to repair because we do this repeatedly, right? And these toxins and everything. So this actually allows a steady flow of these toxins, physical, heavy metal, chemicals, and also the things we put through your skin, okay? These things are falling to our body. Once they enter our body, they will wreak havoc. And they may have a direct impact, like I said, they are toxins. They will grab electrons, like arsenic, you know about. So toxins, they can kill people because it grabs electrons from the mitochondrial energy producing so-called electron transfer chain. So when you cannot produce enough energy or ATP in your body, the cell dies. When enough cells die, we die. Okay. So these toxins will cause problems in our body, but also, today we see increased prevalence or increased frequency risks of autoimmune disease. Why? This is also related to these toxins and the leaky gut. Okay. Now, conventional medicine, or today's Western medicine, we think autoimmune disease, you look at it and Mayo Clinic or Medscape or these and a major medical websites. Autoimmune disease, we don't know the causes. All we know is your body, your immune system fights against your own cells, and what do? Immune suppression. Maybe corticosteroids, steroid hormones, or do nothing. Okay, like a Hashimoto, a lot of people have a Hashimoto. They say, well, go home, and then there's nothing they have to offer, and wait until your thyroid hormones are low, so that way you replace hormones. Well, that's not good enough. Why? Because more and more research now shows that actually these Hashimoto's and autoimmune disease, they are tied up to the toxins. They are tied up to the leaky gut in your gut. All disease comes from your gut. Okay, that's the first step. Okay, so that's the holistic view I'm talking about, balanced view. Don't only look at the thyroid, go beyond. Okay, and I'm going to show you some cases later. So above these basic ones, there's way too much to talk about. I can't simply cover this in even 2 hours. And then eventually, when we reach our middle age, women is obviously they go through menopause, men also go through andropause. They begin to show hormonal changes. Okay. These hormone changes also further promote. These are natural part of our body. Okay. Most people today may start as early as in their 40s, and oftentimes in their 50s or even later. Okay. And the better you take better of yourself, actually the menopause and andropause will be further delayed. Now, we have to understand, yes, that's part of natural aging. However, when you lose that hormonal balance, particularly thyroid, adrenal, like I mentioned about cortisol, sex hormones, growth hormone, and these hormones, when you lose that, what are hormones? Hormones are just messages. Hormones are produced in part of the body, in part of the cell, and go a distance to a different part to execute a function. Hormones, just like today's a phone call, a command, or an order, or court order, a message like this, that makes things happen. Okay, hormones are very critical. Anybody in your household, in a company, in a business, or in the government, and all these organizations function by certain rules. Okay, these rules are messages. What are rules? You have to show up at 9 o'clock. If you're late, you're late. You can potentially get yelled at or punished, right? So hormones are messages that tell our body how to function. Okay, all our bodies have to function properly. Now, if we lose this balance, then we lose proper function. So this is very critical. Yes, it's a part of natural aging, but if you want to, anti-aging, prolong your life, if you want to extend your lifespan, if you want to delay or reverse chronic diseases, this is a big part of it, because the imbalance of these hormones further complicates our chronic diseases. Lots of research, and let me just stop there. Okay, let's move down the list. Now, further down, we talk about some of the specific agents, like I mentioned, anti-aging, regenerative medicine. Why I mentioned about the general sense of anti-aging and the specific sense of anti-aging. General sense of anti-aging meaning anything you can do to make you live longer, not necessarily related to your gene or to your makeup, is in the anti-aging scope. Now, but let's say if you live a perfect life, perfectly healthy lifestyle, no toxin, all these other things that we talked about earlier, we still die. Everybody will die eventually. Why do we die? Because we all know every day we lose hair, we lose our skin cells, we lose our blood cells. These cells, we call metabolism. The old ones have to go, the new ones to be replaced. Okay? And so what is there to replace your old cells? Stem cells. Okay. I did a lot of stem cell research. Most of the scientists, biochemical, biological scientists may have done some in the field of cell culture. We know the best studied is the so-called skin fibroblast, so they skin cells, they're easy to get. You culture these cells, these cells on average will divide or split about 50 times. in a petri dish. Okay, so basically these are the cells that, you know, when you lose a cell, the stem cell will want to divide into two, and one probably will go to quiescence, basically sleep again, and the other one will divide to replace your lost cell. So basically, it's this replacement or reparative or mechanism of our body. It is to keep our bodies function. Eventually, unfortunately, this is not an inexhaustible source. Eventually, we will run out of stem cells. So the more damages in our body, the more toxins, oxidative stress it causes, you know, basically you increase your turnover of the cell. Basically, you know, let's say, you know, well, that makes sense, right? I mean, if your heart, you know, people say your heart can beat so many times. If your heart beats twice as fast as the other, probably you will run out of, machinery, you know, in half of the time. So same thing here is that if you spend, you know, you use up your stem cell, eventually when we exhaust our stem cells, we will not be able to replace the lost cells. Our GI will break down. Our immune system will not be able to produce immune cells, and will die of infection or disease. So that's in the category of regenerative medicine. How can we extend our regenerative capacity of our body? Now, again, this is built on the foundation of the first few. Don't forget, do not jump onto that thing. So a typical analogy here I'm telling people is, don't think you can drink alcohol every day, you know, eat a healthy diet, don't exercise, and take your stem cells. Well, will it help? It may help a little bit, but it's not going to be as effective. Okay, better way, you need to do all these fundamental ones. Yes, you're right. The very basic one, the lifestyle, the nutrition, the balance. Probably I cannot make a penny out of it, but that makes up the bulk part of the health and anti-aging medicine. That's more critical, and that's inexpensive for you. Anybody can do it. All right. So that's the list we go through. Okay. Now here I want to touch up on a few very important questions. Now, first of all, I want to use diabetes as basically I want to talk about our energy, and the diets now are controversial. We know there's vegetarian diets out there, and there are these ketogenic diets, various types out there. And I want to just ask the question. So let's say a typical type 2 diabetic patient. Usually these patients tend to be obese, right? So we know that. Also, we know when a type 2 diabetic patient, when they miss a meal, many of them may develop hypoglycemic symptoms, lack of energy, sluggish, tired, may even to take a nap. Some people may even, go further, right? So basically, when they miss a meal, they don't have enough energy in their body. That's the simple, easy interpretation for hypoglycemic symptoms, because their blood sugar levels will go low, right? Okay, so that's not controversial. That's a common fact. Everybody understands. Now, that's also a fact I just mentioned, that these people tend to be obese. What does that mean? That means these patients have plenty of fat tissue in their body. What is fat? Fat is an energy source, right? So let's talk a little bit about energy store in our body. And we all know about calories. Calories basically a sign of energy in our body. ATP is energy store. So there are three types of macronutrients, three types of nutrients that have calories. We know carbohydrates, bread, wheat, rice, potatoes, gluten, starch, right? The carbohydrates, and sugar, simply. And we have fat. Fat, we all know fat. You have cholesterol, you have lipids, and different type of fats. We also have protein. Red meats are mostly more of protein, right? Fat, vitamin, and fat, oil, subcutaneous fat is mostly fat. So these are three major nutrients we have that have calories. Our body does not store protein for energy. Okay. Yes, so people have muscles. Those are muscles. Those are not energy stores. We have fat pads. We don't have protein pads as energy. Okay. We also don't have sugar pads. We do store sugar in our body as energy storage. They are called, some of you know, they are called glycogens in the liver or in the muscles. Glycogen. What are glycogens? Glycogens are just hand-packed sugar, glucose, to save storage space. Basically, glucose, they are linked together, okay, into a chain. That's what it is, because it doesn't take much space. But when they are released, they are chopped down to glucose and being burnt as fuel. Okay. So yes, we do store some glucose, sugar, in our body as energy, mostly in the liver and in the muscles. But how much do we store? On average, about 500 grams a day. What does that mean? 500 grams, each gram of sugar gives you 4 calories. So that means 2,000 calories. And some of you, if you go to gym, you know 2,000 calories is less than a day's calorie requirement for most people in the United States. On average, a lady burns about 2,000 calories a day. A man may burn about 2,500 calories a day. So 2,000 calories is barely enough one day's calorie requirement for a lady, but not quite for a man. So we store only about 1 day's worth of sugar in our body. But look at our fat. You don't need to tell you. We have a lot of fat people. We have store. Seems like the fat storage in our body is unlimited. We have read on reports that people have been weighing over 1,000 pounds. I've never seen that kind of heavy. Never mind. Anyway, the heaviest patient in my clinic is over 600 pounds. So the message here is that there's a lot of fat stored in our body. Okay. Why do I say this? What I want to say is that actually the fat is our major energy source in our body. Okay, not sugar. Sugar is like a quick cash, it's like a pocket change. When you eat energy, you tend to bring it so quickly. When you go to the grocery store, you use mostly the pocket change, the cash in your pocket, right? And you are not going to sell your stock or your bank account. So basically, the animals, we humans and other animals, we have evolved to store fat. But 1 gram of fat has 9 calories, has more than twice the calorie in the same weight of protein or sugar. 1 gram of sugar and 1 gram of protein give you 4 calories, but 1 gram of fat gives you 9 calories. That's more than twice. Okay. So we, the humans and many other animals, actually, throughout the animal kingdom, actually, is that we have evolved to store fat as the major energy source. That's more efficient. Okay. And that's one. Also, I want to mention too, think about it, is that one analogy I often use is that today, we dress up in food, we drive in expensive cars with high leather shoes. We forget, we humans, we are actually animals. We forget the fact that we are animals, okay? Albeit we're highly intelligent animals. What's the animal? We are no different, biologically speaking, we are no different from the wild animals, of course, in the wilderness, okay? Now, how many animals in the wilderness have 3 square meals a day? Except for those animals in the zoo. So we humans and wild animals, we are built to eat plenty when you get a chance. And then we may go on a long time without food supply, and we will burn the fat. Okay? So that's how for the tens and hundreds of thousands of years or even longer, because the life has been around over, the earliest life is recorded probably about 20, 30 billion years ago. Okay? But over the hundreds and millions of years of evolution of mammalian animals and our human beings, so we have been evolving to store energy in the fat, okay? And so when we go, go on a extensive period of time, no food, we will burn and release and burn fat from our fat storage. Okay. So, because, think about it. When did the human beings settle down and start farming? It's only about 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, compared to our long history of evolution. At least, Homo sapiens, at least dates back to maybe 250,000, hundreds of thousand years, but we've gone through a series of evolutionary steps. So that goes far beyond that. So basically, most of the time, we were hunters and gatherers. We didn't have 3 square meals a day. How did we survive? Because our body is built to eat a lot whenever it can, of course, and store the energy, and when you don't eat, it will gradually release. The message here is that your fat storage cells, your energy is supposed to be stored. Basically, for example, in our body, we have mostly fat storage is under our skin, subcutaneous fat. And when we eat, the calories will be stored in the subcutaneous fat storage area. And after we finish a meal, our body will burn whatever is in our blood. And gradually, when the sugar level is being burnt off, then we will gradually release the fat from our fat storage to keep us safe. Okay, that's how normally our body should function. So the fat and the storage is that the fats should be stored and then released and to be used. That's the normal process. And this process, if you eat, let's say if you eat 2 meals, 3 meals a day, this is supposed to happen back and forth. When you eat, the energy will be stored. When you don't eat, the energy is supposed to be released. This should go on back and forth 12 times a day, constantly. Okay. And in the wilderness, back before we had the farming, when you eat, it happens less. Probably you eat one meal, one heavy meal, anyway, in the wild. Is that we store a lot of fat, and then we go on days without food, and your body will continue to release fat and for a couple of days. Now, look at today's lifestyle. Most people, or many people, will eat probably 3 meals a day, and many people will also eat snacks or drinks, sugary drinks in between. Okay, and so the scenario to a lot of people today is that they eat 1 meal, the calories come in, and before you burn off the calorie in the blood, you're eating again, more calories come in. So, your body continues to store the energy without the need of release the stored energy. So basically, the energy storage and release is supposed to be a bidirectional. This is important. It's supposed to be a bidirectional mechanism. But today, for many people, it's a unidirection, one direction. And, our subcutaneous fat is a capacity. It's exhaustible. So eventually, early on, you eat more calories, they get stored under the skin, and eventually that capacity is filled. Okay, then they bring over into the blood. Okay, then the blood sugar level and the blood fat level, lipid level will go up. And if like I said, many people keep on eating. So every day you're only burning the fuel from the food you eat. You never really give your body a chance to release the energy stored in your fat cells. Okay, if you do this for years or even longer, you'll eventually, like I said earlier, diabetes develop. Why? Because partially your body fat cells, your fat storage, begin to forget how to release energy, how to release fat. And remember, when you do these things, lots of hormones are involved, lots of receptors are involved in biology. If you don't use a function, that function will atrophy, will be, we call upregulation, downregulation, because biology is, human body is very interesting. If you don't use it, why do you spend energy to make a receptor on a cell that you don't use, right? So when you do this long again, your genes don't know how to express a receptor. Same thing here, okay? So these diabetic patients, when they miss a meal, their body doesn't know how to release the fat and how to burn the fat in the cell to produce energy. That's why they will develop hypoglycemic symptoms. And that's the reason why. Okay. So the key word here is the fat release and the metabolism burning process is impaired in these patients. Not only diabetic patients, but many of you. So if you are listening to me, ask yourself, if you miss a meal and you started feeling, these symptoms, hypoglycemic symptoms, you may already be at least insulin resistant. You may be pre-diabetic or diabetic. Why? Because your body is already not able to release fat to support your function. Normally, it shouldn't happen. Let me give you one personal experience. I told you, I mentioned earlier, I got into this partially because of my own health. And it's been probably 15 years ago, my fasting sugar was getting really high. And I did have some of those symptoms, missing a meal, started feeling a little hungry, weak, that kind of thing. And that kind of thing. And so I started basically, how do we deal with this? Basically, two ways. One is cut down on your carbohydrates, sugar. We all know that. Okay. Basically, not only to reduce the calories, but also reduce the carbohydrates to force your body to learn to burn fat. Okay. This is a slow process. Ideally, should be supervised by a trained professional. Okay. And also, I advise intermittent fasting, meaning allow yourself to be a little bit hungry. Okay, do it in a regular way. Why? Is to force your body to regain the ability you lost. When you feel hungry, don't eat until you're hungry. And also advise, if you're in the process, don't eat right away, because when you're hungry, your body is sending a couple of signals. One is to ask you to look for food. Now, if you don't eat, your body is also sending a signal to your hormones, and the hormones are signals, and sending signals to your fat cells. Look, we don't have enough sugar here. Please release fat. Okay, and these signals will work on your genes, work on your cells, and will turn the sluggish machinery early on, maybe very slow. Okay, to express the receptors. Okay, to start relearning the skill they lost. Okay, it's a process, it will take some time, but it's usual. Yes, we can do it. We can reverse diabetic patients. We have helped many diabetic patients. Actually, I just inserted a insulin dependent patient the last 2 days ago. The patient is taking 22 units of insulin. And these diabetic patients on insulin or on drugs, diabetic drugs, we are able to get them off the insulin or drugs in a few days. Of course, don't do it at home. Okay, you have to do these under the guidance of a professional. But what I'm saying is that don't rely on sugar. You have to let your body go back to the normal fat as the major source. Okay, so that's the process you need to do. So the point I'm making here is that the key energy to our body is fat. Sugar is an assistant energy source, not the main source. Our body is a dual fuel system. You need to allow both systems to function. Okay, I'm not saying everybody, normal healthy person, needs to be eating a fat all the time. I'm not saying that, but you need to, if you like I mentioned earlier, if you are already having those problems, you need to retrain yourself to gain the ability to release fat and burn fat. Yes, it's doable, okay? And that's a very important message. Like I mentioned myself, let me finish my story, is that, so I've been doing these for quite a few years, along with other nutrients. And also I mentioned earlier, I started playing badminton quite a bit. And let me tell you that these days, I can eat one heavy meal at lunchtime, usually a lot of, fatty stuff, okay? I'm on a low carb diet and low carb ketogenic diet. And, today I'm pretty healthy in my view. And I feel like, I hate to say I'm approaching 61, but I feel like I'm in my 30 something. But anyway, so I can play badminton for 2-3 hours, even after lunch. I mean, usually I play badminton in the evening hours, 6-8 o'clock in the evening, and that's the gym availability. And I usually eat something about 3 or 4 o'clock, mostly heavy fat. And I miss dinner time. I don't feel hungry. I can go on 2-3 hours without feeling hungry. Why? Because I've trained my body able to release fat when I need it. Let me tell you a little story. About 4 years ago, I was interesting because here at Columbia, I was playing at the University of South Carolina here in the gym, playing with a bunch of people half my age. And I was playing one-on-one with a young guy in his 30s, and he got exhausted. He went off. And the second guy came on, and also a graduate student, around 30-ish. And the guy got tired and was on the floor. So the third guy came, also the third guy was actually a college student, undergrad, in 20s. And we played until the end, until the gym closes. I don't know, maybe 40-some minutes or so. So the message I'm saying here is that, and this story I've been bragging about, is that I was able to sort of play and beat and tire the other two, exhausted the other two young men. They were tired, exhausted of energy, and I still was standing. Why? Because I've trained my body to release fat. Okay, I didn't. Well, why do you feel tired? It's because your muscles are out of energy. If you are able to train your muscles, again, energy is mitochondria. Why am I so particularly interested in mitochondria? Because I've been playing badminton for 10 years. So every congress, a conference I go to, I've in the past many years, I always ask how I can improve my mitochondria. Because, like I said, like a fancy cell phone. No matter how fancy your phone is, if the battery dies, it is out of service. So no matter how big you are, how good you are, if you don't have enough mitochondria, if you don't have good enough mitochondria function in your cells, you're not going to be able to produce or release a lot of energy to supply your cell function. Energy is the key. I like to borrow a Hollywood quote. We all see who actually Hollywood detective movies. Follow the money. Why follow the money? Because we see money is the lubricant of the world. Money makes things work. It's like the resource, energy source. In our cells, in our life, it's not the genes. It's actually the energy that determines everything. Okay. About this concept, I mentioned earlier. Let's focus less on DNA, on genes, more on mitochondria. Because why? Why? Because we've been talking way too much about DNA. People forget about energy. Let me give you one example. I've been in the United States for 34, 35 years. And I remember back in the 1990s, I was at NIH, and there was a government shutdown at the time. And I remember there was at least another time, when we have a budget, congressional budget deadlock, and the government shut down, people go home. So what I'm saying is that when the White House or the government shuts down, actually, life goes on. Back in the 1990s, I remember when the White House shuts down, I look at the stock market. They say without the government regulation, the stock market was smoothly going up. Wall Street still loves to have government shut down, Anyway, that's just it. Okay? But anyway, the message here is that if the power company in your neighborhood shuts down, we all have experience of power outage. Nothing works, right? No power, no refrigerator, no Wi-Fi, no cell phone. How many people you tell me can function today without a mobile phone, without Wi-Fi, without internet? Right? So actually, the case here is that, the government is like our central command, is our DNA, nucleus. But like I said, when the White House shuts down, when the government shuts down, it didn't really bother our life in a short run. But when the power goes out, hey, within a few minutes, you will hear screaming everywhere. Your kids will be definitely screaming, I have no Wi-Fi, right? So the point I'm making is that energy is the key. Follow the money. In your biology, in disease, follow energy. That's the key. That's probably more important. I'm not saying DNA is not important. Every part in our body is important. Is the hand important? Can you live without a hand? Yes, you can. But obviously, it's important. Without saying. So that's the energy part I'm talking about here. Okay. So everybody, I challenge you, if you feel those sluggish hypoglycemic symptoms, try the dietary method that I told you. I cut down the carbohydrates, replace the carbohydrates with fat content. I'm not going to be specific, and also try to fast and gradually increase the fasting time to retrain your body to regain the ability to burn and release fat. That's very important because that's underlying practically every disease today, mostly in the form of disease. I talked enough about that. Now, here is the fat I will told you about. We have at least 4 types of fats in our body. Here we all know the subcutaneous fat is our energy storage fat. That's important. That's the energy storage. The bad fat is the visceral fat around the heart, around the lungs. The liver, your stomach, but mostly in the abdomen, right? Those are bad fats you don't want. We also have the structural fat I mentioned. Fat in the brain, fat in the cells. Those fats are not energy. When you lose weight, you don't want to lose fat in the brain, right? So what makes them different? Fats are the same. Cholesterol, a cholesterol molecule is a cholesterol molecule, is a cholesterol molecule. It doesn't matter whether it's in a test tube or in the brain or in the subcutaneous or visceral fat. So it's the cells that make the difference. The cells, whether they respond to energy storage or releasing signals or not. It's the cells that respond, okay? So why do I want to say this? Today, a lot of people do this so-called liposuction. You're suctioning out the subcutaneous normal fat, not the real bad fat, okay? So if you're smart, you know what I mean, okay? Now, there's also the brown fat. We don't have a lot of brown fat in the house. Maybe have more. Brown fat, actually, interesting is that brown fat, they have more mitochondria. That's what gives the color, brownish. They have more mitochondria. What happens in brown fat is in the mitochondria. Basically, we know mitochondria burns all these fat. The fat, the glucose, the protein to the Krebs cycle. Okay, it of course has it through in mitochondria. Now, eventually, the electrons will be transferred onto the mitochondrial membrane to electron transfer chain to make ATP. But you can also have the so-called decoupling. So the electrons will not be transferred to the mitochondria, the membrane. So basically what I'm saying is that you will have a lot of these, metabolism, Krebs cycle, but you will not generate a lot of ATP. The energy produced here will be dissipated in the form of heat. We know brown fat generates heat. Okay, so babies have a lot of brown fat because they need a lot of heat to protect themselves. So adults, if you expose yourself to cold, right? People take a cool shower, they ice and they swim in the cold winter. There's all actually one mechanism is you can increase your brown fat, and the brown fat, when you have more brown fat, when they metabolize, they consume a lot of calories and dissipate in the form of heat. Okay, that's interesting. Right? Anyway, those are the 4 types of fats. Now, I already talked about diabetes. Let me just show you one study, lots of studies now. Well, this is a study I think published last year. Basically, a group of 349 diabetic patients were followed up to 2 years. The study was published 2 years, after conclusion of the study. Basically, these patients were diabetic patients. They simply go on a low carb ketogenic diet. They didn't, take any other medications, and they were on diabetic patients. Drugs. Okay. At the end of the study, 2 years later, 53.5% of diabetic patients went off medication, and many of the remainder of them they were reduced the dosage medication, and average weight loss is 10% among these people. So this is so-called basically larger trial, 300 patients. And basically by lifestyle intervention, you are able to reduce and improve diabetes. Okay. Now, how many doctors can do that? Right? And we have in my clinic here in India, South Carolina, and also in China, I consult in Shanghai and other places. We have been helping many of these weight loss patients and diabetic patients, hypertension patients. Many of them simply by losing weight, by cutting down on this, and they will be able to reduce diabetic drugs and improve their diseases. So that's very important. This is the foundation. Of course, it's not all. Okay. Again, lifestyle, diets are probably responsible for at least 50, 60, 70% of the problem. The remaining is, of course, medical intervention. And yes, you got a question, Steve?
Well, I'd like to ask if you'd take some time to answer some questions.
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, how close are you to the end of your presentation?
I think no. Oh.
Okay, let's get some questions asked
yes,
then.
Please.
Okay. How do you test people for their mitochondrial status? Do people feel the difference, and how would they know one way or another?
Well, okay, that's a good question, and it's a very good question. The mitochondria has many functions. And other than the energy generating function, it also has, we know, the cell replication function and metabolic functions. Today, there are tests you can measure some parts of the function. Basically, what they do is they measure, if you remember, if some of us know the Krebs cycle. And so if you measure those chemicals, we will be able to have a sense of the metabolism. So basically, we can measure the lipid metabolism, carbohydrate metabolism, capacity of the mitochondria. So far, we don't really have a convenient and direct way of measuring the energy producing capacity. Yeah.
Okay. What can you talk a bit about the different forms of vitamin C that are available in terms of both IV and oral, in terms of, the acid, the free acid, the salts, liposomal forms, the ester forms, and the natural versus synthetic distinction that's made in the marketplace?
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, that's a great question, actually. And basically vitamin C, usually there are, oral vitamin C and IV. Let's talk about mostly oral. Oral usually, whether it's the acid form, the ascorbic acid, or the sodium, the salt form, the sodium ascorbate or some other salt. Now we have to understand the absorption of vitamin C in the GI tract, and mostly in the stomach, is that when the vitamin C is ionized, basically it separates, carrying a charge. The vitamin C's absorption may be reduced because of the membrane. It's all membrane. Once it's charged, it's more like water soluble, and our membrane is lipid. It's less compatible. So we believe acid form and on an empty stomach is probably better absorbed than the salt form. And so there's also the liposomal vitamin C. Liposomal vitamin C simply is vitamin C powder or molecule embedded in a lipid bubble, so to speak. And the idea here is simply because the lipid bubble, because it's lipid, so it can fuse with the intestinal membrane and it can be better internalized. And some research shows that it can achieve higher blood levels of vitamin C by using liposomal vitamin C. However, there was also one interesting study that was pretty interesting to me, is that if you recall earlier in this talk, that if you take vitamin C on an hourly basis, there was a preliminary study that shows that you are probably able to achieve pretty good blood levels of vitamin C, even close to IV vitamin C. Okay, but the point, because we have limited absorption capacity, and generally speaking, we think if you our absorption is about 1 gram-ish, about 1 gram per hour. So if you above that capacity, most vitamin C will be, will not be able to be absorbed through the GI. And but except, we all probably know cascade theory when we're sick. For example, this time when we have a lot of COVID-19 patients, they can tolerate a lot more vitamin C. So in general, if you take vitamin C, you can take to the degree of diarrhea. Then you reduce down a little bit, go back down a little bit, so-called bowel tolerance. That's your tolerance. That's the amount of vitamin C you can tolerate.
I have a general question about your experiences with promoting the vitamin C message to the American medical community versus the Chinese medical community.
Okay, good question. Actually, I think most of the physician members in the medical community probably were not aware of the vitamin C's messages, because throughout the medical school training, hospital training, and the conferences in hospital environment, the doctors are usually pretty busy, and also we're trained in that mindset. And they don't know. They do not know about these other effects out of the box thinking. Most of them don't. And so that's the vast majority of doctors. Recently, I've been making phone calls to physicians, talking to physicians, because the consultation, they asked me people in ICU, that kind of thing. And they were pretty curious, and they know of what I'm talking about, and I send them literature references. So actually, education is very critical. Now, unfortunately, many of us have experience of the social media censorship this year in particular. I was upset, because I saw that, for example, I was invited to give a talk at NIH in April. And the NIH people invited me, made it specific. They are aware of the situation around vitamin C, including political situation. They made it sure. It's never happened before. They reviewed my slides in advance because they know the impact of this presentation, and making sure I don't have anything beyond the science. Okay. So what I'm saying is that interview, that presentation is a pure literature research review, like I just gave you mostly. Okay. Unfortunately, you know what? That presentation was blocked, saying not whatever they say, not fake news, whatever. I got so upset. I said, this is scientifically based. How more scientific can this be? But anyway, you know what I'm saying is that unfortunately the mainstream doctors don't get a lot of chances to hear about these issues. Okay, I try not to get into the conspiracy theory here, but we need to do a better job of educating these doctors. The best way I realize is probably talk to the consumers. Doctors in the United States mostly listen to the patients. Okay, when the patients give them literature, the doctors usually will, don't just say, here's the literature, here's the paper, here's the study, and so they need a better education. And I hope through this COVID-19, the more and more people in the medical community can find out about this and this concept, not just vitamin C, but this integrative medicine concept.
How about the Chinese medical doctors? Are they more or less receptive?
Actually, very similar. That's very interesting. I've been talking, I was surprised when I found out about it a couple of years ago, and about the diets, about vitamin C. So I've been talking about this for quite a few years now, and lecturing among my peers. It's similar to the United States. Actually, maybe because of many of my colleagues who were my medical school friends, so they were more harsh, actually, some of them. But also many of them, I've been able to convert more and more of them, actually. And, I've been patient. I don't argue with people these days. I just present my facts. How to interpret it's up to you. They can call me all their names. There are people who call me names, but I ignore them. It happens everywhere, I believe, But in general, the medical societies, authorities in China, governments, as I mentioned, the government published supporting evidence for vitamin C. So vitamin C, let me put it this way, early on, people laugh at me and call me names on vitamin C. Even those people, now they don't really give me a hard time on vitamin C yet. Actually, probably about a week ago, something like this happened. Is that because they saw that governments have been, underwriting vitamin C, supporting vitamin C. And then when I was talking about hydrogen peroxide, some people go bizarre again, so they know nothing. It's a toxic thing. But I didn't talk much about hydrogen peroxide. Same thing happens when something's out of the box. Oh, they attack it. They start attacking it.
The last question we have here is somebody wants to know about the epidemic of knee and hip replacements. Do you have an explanation for why that's trending up?
Well, that's interesting. Actually, a lot of things are sort of trending up, and I think that goes down to some of the bone issues, knee and hips, and that's tied into. Basically, we're talking about arthritis, and also osteoporosis in that category. And about osteoporosis, I recommend you to read Tom's Death by Calcium. We also have a Chinese version on that, and I've been giving a lot of talks on this. Is that a lot of people take calcium supplements because we've been taught that osteoporosis or the knee problems are lack of calcium. Okay, and by long story short, if you do a bone scan, you see the density is decreased. Okay, what they don't realize actually is that the leach, the leach of calcium out of the bones into the soft tissue, particularly blood vessel walls, is a passive process. Is not an active process. Okay, and therefore by supplementing calcium into supplements, it doesn't help to rebuild the bones. And it's another talk, okay? The problem here is the bone collagen matrix synthesis deficiency. We are not able to give, actually that brings up a very important question. Why vitamin C is so critical? Because the main problem here is vitamin C is multifunctional. Okay, we already mentioned today vitamin C is a viral killing agent. Vitamin C is an antioxidant. We mentioned a lot of toxins today that will consume a lot of vitamin C. But don't forget, vitamin C is also a critically essential cofactor for collagen synthesis. That's a very important concept. Collagen doesn't sound very sexy, it's very boring. But 1/3 of the proteins in our body is collagen. Our body nearly all the cells except the blood cells, all the other cells in our body are connected to each other with each other by the matrix in between. And collagen plays a critical part in that matrix, in glue, so to speak, glue. Okay. Now, I mentioned the vitamin C is critical. What is scurvy? Scurvy basically is a breakdown of like blood vessels and other tissues too. Okay, why? Because the glue is deglued. So I mentioned earlier focal scurvy. This scurvy actually is present everywhere. Is that we have a chronic increase of oxidative stress that consumes a lot of vitamin C and other antioxidants, and we don't supplement enough. Therefore, we have a suboptimal or abnormally low or deficient vitamin C levels. Therefore, you don't have enough vitamin C to synthesize collagen. Now, that's another issue of integrative medicine. In today's medicine, we view osteoporosis and hypertension and the atherosclerosis as separate diseases. But look at here is the common link here again, is that when you have collagen synthesis deficiency, all those cells, practically all, requiring collagen to bond cells together, the glue in between will be deglued. Now, if it happens in the bones, it presents as osteoporosis because you don't have enough bone collagen to keep calcium, minerals, and other function, magnesium, and other things, okay, and the protein. And of course, not only vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium, vitamin K2, and the fatty acids, proteins, all the others. So vitamin C is a major part of it, right? So osteoporosis is a key nutrition deficiency and not a calcium deficiency disease. Now, on top of that, makes things worse is that the calcium that comes out of the bones, where do they go? They go into the blood vessel walls and into the soft tissue. We're getting more and more. But anyway, so this is part of the atherosclerosis and also the blood vessel hardening, the hypertension, because of the calcium deposits deposition. Calcium not only deposits in the blood vessel walls, but also in lungs. You have the spots in the lungs, in the prostate, in the mammary gland, in the breast, in every part. Now, don't think those calciums are innocent. They actually act as oxidants. They can cause a lot of other issues, other diseases. Okay. So this is one concept here is that when you supplement calcium, actually lots of research are there showing that you are actually worsening the other diseases and not really helping the bone. And I'll give you one example myself. When I read about this and I tossed out the calcium, I told all my family members, do not take the supplements and take a lot of other things. And my bone density, actually, 2 years ago, I did a bone density, is better than most of the people in their 20s and 30s. That's why when I roll on floors and when I play badminton, I have very good bones. And about osteoporosis, again, the key features of aging and chronic disease, there are two. One is oxidation, I mentioned. The other actually is calcification. So when you talk about knee and hip replacement, not only you have osteoporosis, but you also have a ongoing oxidative and calcification changes going on. So the way to reverse that is nutritional supplement. You have to reduce the oxidative stress. You need to provide supplements and a healthy diet to provide these nutrients to build healthy bones. And those are the key measures to prevent or even reverse and improve these bones. Well, we can talk a lot more.
Yeah, we have one more from Joseph. Joseph?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Cheng. I think you briefly mentioned K2 in preventing the depletion of calcium into the soft tissues. Can you talk a little bit about whether you recommend patients to take supplements of K2, and what sources of K2 you have in mind?
Oh, definitely. I think we recommend K2, and basically these vitamin C. And if you don't take other things, I would recommend at least well, it's hard to say which vitamins are not good. Vitamin C, B, magnesium, K2, and lots of vitamin B, because that's powerful in the energy production. And K2, actually, here's another concept. Like I mentioned, which vitamin is not important? See, and that's the question. Antioxidants, like I mentioned, these antioxidants are critical, and mitochondria. So, go back to my holistic view. Is I recommend a so-called I'm not promoting products here, but we have a package called a total cell nutrition. What I'm saying is that we need all of these supplements. And early on, when I was getting these magnesium, K2, and all the others, on the market, you don't really have one supplement. So you have these K2, D, C, D, and eventually I was taking handfuls and handfuls of supplements. They really helped me. They also helped my parents. Eventually, there are way too many. So what I decided was to get rid of the redundant and the fillers, unnecessary part, and put them together in one package. Now, so that's what I view is we need all of these. Some are more important, probably more deficient than others, but we do need a balanced all spectrum of those nutrients. But a few things I want to point out. Number one, do not take calcium. You don't need it. Adults, the middle-aged adults, you don't need a calcium supplement. Why? The reason is in the book, but our diets are full of calcium, plenty of calcium. So if you are still deficient in calcium, it's not calcium, it's vitamin D3. I already mentioned. You probably don't have good enough absorption. Okay, that's it. Calcium actually hurts you. Okay, that's one. So don't take anything that contains calcium. I don't. Also here, along the same line, we recommend not to drink milk fortified with vitamin D3. Why is that? Too much calcium, particularly when you have D3 there, okay? So we recommend not to drink the D3 fortified milk as a nutrient supplement. Don't think it's a nutrition you need every day. Occasionally, you like to have occasionally I drink it a little bit for the flavor, taste, but I don't drink it as a nutrition. Okay, so that's don't take it easy. Also, iron. One other problem appears that many of the middle-aged and senior people, except the menstruating women, tend to have iron overload. Iron is one of the primary, calcium and iron are primary intracellular oxidants. They can cause a lot of problems. So they tend to have too much iron overload in the body. So don't supplement that. So when I see multivitamins that have iron, unless you have a lab-proven iron deficiency anemia, don't take that. And so that's true. Unfortunately, nearly all, at least many of the multivitamin supplements on the market that contain those elements. So those all are disqualified. And another point I want to mention today, we mentioned the dosage. FDA has RDA, and unfortunately, when you supplement, when you put a product on the market, you have to sort of comply with those. And the RDA amounts, for example, vitamin C is 90 milligrams. That's way too small. Dosage is key if you want to have any effects. So in nutrition science, we have a concept of optimal daily dosing. So here is that whatever dosage I recommend, we recommend optimal daily dosing. What is optimal daily dosing? Defined by research. Like I said, we mentioned a lot about the dosage for vitamin C. So the RDA is another concept. The broad spectrum and the amounts, and those are some of the concepts of the nutritional supplements. Now, if you ask of vitamin K2, there are quite a few of those good companies with good reputation on the market, so you can choose from. Yes, Lily.
Well, we're at the end of our 3-hour session. I am impressed with your stamina, and thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom with us all.
Thank you very much. And may I show you the last slide, maybe?
Okay.
Thank a few people. I didn't get a chance to. Like I said, there's plenty to talk about. And yeah, and I just want to show all my these acknowledgements. A lot of people throughout the year have been helping me and educating me and assisting me, and I really thank all of them. And put the list here, and here we have a list of the international medical support team. We worked together early on, particularly promoting vitamin C and other concepts, as you can see here. They include Dr. Tom Lee, and Dr. Hisawa here, and finally also I have to thank again the Dr. Shi, Dr. Zia, and Dr. Moody at the NIH. That the NIH invitation earlier in April really helped us to disseminate the vitamin C worldwide. That's very good. And thank you all very much. Thank
Steve,
you.
I just want to say that if we adopt half of what Dr. Cheng's recommendations, probably we'll get to the same stamina level.
Thank you very much. Actually, like I said, energy producing is pretty impressive.
The key.
Yeah, is the key. It's
How much voltage do you have?
I actually, can I say one more thing interesting? I saw one. I think that's Schellenberg. So basically, I like to have a simple method eventually to measure our mitochondrial energy producing capacity. We don't have one yet, okay? So the existing one is pretty laborious. It's basically in the office, you make a person to go on a treadmill to exhaust yourself, right? Then measure your lactic acid level. It makes sense, right, biochemically. Basically, normally, lactic acid should be low because we should generate energy through Krebs cycle. Basically, if you go on Krebs cycle, you measure that, at a short time interval. When you see lactate level going up, you have saturated your Krebs cycle, your glycolysis fermentation energy is kicking in to make a supplement. And so that's your level, but that's too complicated. And unfortunately, we don't still have a simple, I like to know my voltage, like you said, but we don't have one yet. And that would be pretty handy.
Yeah, Schellenberger talks about the oxygen to CO2 ratio changing when you switch from aerobic to anaerobic systems.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for inviting me again.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
The recording has stopped.
Okay, anybody wants to save the chat, now's the time to do it.
Oh, I